The confetti from my graduation ceremony was still in my hair when my father's hands tore through my future. The offer letter from Nexus Technologies, starting salary $125,000, signing bonus $30,000, full relocation package to Seattle, became fragments floating to our living room floor. Family helps family, Dad said, grinding the pieces under his heel. Your brother needs a good lawyer, and you're going to help pay for one. I sat perfectly still on our worn couch, my magna cum laude medal heavy around my neck, watching my parents destroy the culmination of 4 years of 0 semesters, unpaid internships, and ramen dinners. My mother stood beside him, arms crossed, wearing the same disapproving expression she'd perfected over the years. Marcus needs that job more than you do, Layla, she added. When he gets out, he'll need something stable. You can find another position. You're smart. My brother Marcus, currently sitting in county jail on his 3rd arrest, this time for embezzlement and identity theft from his previous employer, the same brother who'd stolen my social security number at 16 to open credit cards, the same brother they'd mortgaged the house to bail out twice before. That's my job, I said quietly. I earned it. You earned it? Dad laughed bitterly. With whose money? Who paid for that fancy computer science degree? Oh wait, we were going to. Until Marcus had his little situation. His little situation. That's what they called draining my college fund, $47,000 saved since I was born, for his first bail 3 years ago. I'd managed to stay in school through academic scholarships, work-study programs, and loans I'd be paying off for the next decade. I paid for it, I reminded them. Scholarships and loans. You spent my college fund on Marcus, remember? Mom's face reddened. Don't be dramatic. We did what any parents would do. We couldn't let him sit in jail. Which time? I asked, still calm, still sitting perfectly still. When he was arrested for the DUI, the assault, or this latest one where he stole $80,000 from his employer? Allegedly stole, Dad corrected sharply. Nothing's been proven, and that's why he needs a good lawyer. Steinberg says he can get the charges reduced for $50,000 retainer. I don't have $50,000. You have a $30,000 signing bonus, Mom pointed out, and with your new salary, you can co-sign for a loan for the rest. We already talked to the bank. They're willing to approve it with your job offer as collateral. I looked at the shredded remains of that offer. Hard to use it as collateral now. Don't be smart, Dad warned. We made copies first. You're going to call that company tomorrow. Tell them you need another original letter, and then we're going to the bank. No. The word hung in the air like a challenge. My parents exchanged looks, the kind they'd shared my whole life when they thought I was being difficult about sacrificing for Marcus. No? Mom repeated. What do you mean, no? I mean no, I'm not paying for his lawyer. I'm not co-signing any loans. I'm not giving up my job. I stood, removing my graduation cap finally. I'm done enabling him. And you? Dad stepped forward, his face darkening with anger. You're done? We're your family. We sacrificed everything for you kids. You sacrificed everything for Marcus, I corrected. My college fund, your retirement savings, the equity in this house. What have you ever sacrificed for me? We gave you a roof over your head, food, clothes. The legal bare minimum of parenting. Congratulations. Mom gasped. How dare you? How dare I what? Tell the truth? Point out that I've been invisible in this family unless you needed something from me? I've been working since I was 14 because you spent every penny on Marcus's mistakes. He's troubled, Mom said, her go-to excuse. He needs support. He's a criminal, I said flatly, and you've enabled him into becoming a worse one, but that's not my problem anymore. Dad grabbed my arm as I tried to leave. You're not going anywhere. You're going to call that company right now and get another letter. I looked down at his hand, then back at his face. Actually, I don't need to call them. They sent digital copies too, but you're not getting them. Layla Marie Johnson, you will do as you're told or what? I yanked my arm free. You'll kick me out? Please do. It'll save me the trouble of listening to you justify Marcus again. If you walk out that door, Mom threatened, don't bother coming back. We'll cut you off completely. I almost laughed. Cut me off from what? The family that only acknowledged my existence when they needed money? The parents who'd chosen my criminal brother over my future every single time? Okay, I said simply, heading for my room. I'll pack my things. They followed me, alternating between threats and guilt trips. Dad promised to disown me. Mom wailed about how could I abandon my brother. The usual script, worn thin from overuse. I packed methodically, clothes, laptop, important documents, Everything I truly needed fit into 2 suitcases and a backpack. 22 years in this house, and I could carry my life out in 3 bags. Where will you even go? Mom demanded. You can't afford an apartment without a job. Actually, I said, zipping the last suitcase. Nexus provides temporary corporate housing for relocating employees. I leave for Seattle next week. Seattle? Dad sputtered. You can't just move across the country. Watch me. As I headed for the door, bags in hand, Mom made one last attempt. Think about your brother. He could go to prison for years. Real prison, not county jail. Is your pride worth his life? I turned to face them one last time. His life is worth exactly what he's made of it. Just like mine is worth what I've made of it. The difference is, I made better choices. Family helps family, Dad repeated, like a mantra that would somehow change my mind. Family does help family, I agreed, which is why I'm so confused about why you're standing here. As far as I'm concerned, I don't have one. I walked out, their shouts following me to my beat-up Honda Civic, the one I'd bought myself, maintained myself, and would drive myself to my new life. My phone started ringing before I even reached the end of our street. I turned it off. The next week passed in a blur of preparation. I stayed with my friend Keisha, whose parents had actually attended my graduation and cheered louder than my own. I ignored the barrage of calls, texts, and emails from my parents, ranging from fury to manipulation to fake apologies. 3 days before my flight to Seattle, Keisha knocked on the guest room door. Layla, you need to see the news. My stomach dropped. Had Marcus done something else? Hurt someone? Hurt himself? But the local news wasn't about a new crime, it was about an old one. The FBI had raided several businesses connected to Marcus's case, including my parents' house. The embezzlement went deeper than anyone realized. Marcus had been part of a larger fraud ring, and investigators believed my parents had helped hide assets. My phone, which I'd finally turned back on, exploded with messages. This time, I listened to one voicemail from my father. Layla, sweetie, there's been a misunderstanding. The FBI took our computers, our files, they're freezing our accounts. We need you to come home. We need that bonus money for a lawyer, not for Marcus. For us, please, princess. Family helps. I deleted it before he could finish. The next morning, I was packing my car for the drive to Seattle when 2 FBI agents approached. My heart raced, but Agent Sarah Chen's first words calmed me. Miss Johnson, we're not here for you. We just have some questions about your family's financial activities. I invited them in, and over Keisha's kitchen table, the full scope unfolded. Marcus hadn't just stolen $80,000, he'd been siphoning money for years through shell companies. The investigation revealed my parents had been receiving deposits from these companies, claiming them as consulting fees on their taxes. We've reviewed your finances, Agent Chen said. You're clear. Actually, you're remarkably clean, separate bank accounts since you were 18, no shared assets, no suspicious deposits, almost like you knew to keep distance. I knew my brother was trouble, I said carefully. I didn't know about this. But you suspected something? The other agent, Williams, pressed. I thought about all the times money had appeared for Marcus's bail, lawyer fees, rehab stints. My parents worked modest jobs, Dad at a hardware store, Mom as a school secretary. The math had never added up. I suspected they were helping him in ways they shouldn't, I admitted, but I never had proof, and honestly, I was too focused on getting out to look very hard. They asked more questions, about family dynamics, about Marcus's history, about any pressure to participate in financial crimes. I answered honestly, showing them the texts demanding my signing bonus, explaining the pattern of being expected to sacrifice for my brother. They wanted you to co-sign a loan? Agent Williams asked, reviewing my phone. Using your job offer as collateral? Yes, they destroyed the physical letter, but I have digital copies. The agents exchanged glances. Miss Johnson, that could be considered attempted fraud if they knew the money would go toward hiding assets or supporting criminal enterprise. My blood ran cold. My parents hadn't just been enabling Marcus, they'd been trying to make me an accomplice. Am I in trouble? I asked. No, Agent Chen assured me. If anything, your refusal to participate helps establish a pattern of their involvement versus yours. Can we get copies of those messages? I provided everything they asked for. As they prepared to leave, Agent Williams paused. For what it's worth, you did the right thing, walking away. It doesn't feel like it, I admitted. It feels like I abandoned them. No, Agent Chen said firmly. They abandoned you the moment they decided your brother's crimes were worth more than your future. 2 days later, I watched the sunrise for my 90, somewhere in Montana, my Civic loaded with my entire life. My phone sat silent in the cup holder. I'd had to change my number after reporters started calling. The Johnson family scandal had made regional news, local parents arrested in connection with son's embezzlement scheme. I'd read one article before swearing off the coverage. It mentioned Marcus facing 15 to 20 years, my parents facing 5 to 10 for money laundering and tax evasion. It noted the family home, already leveraged for bail money, would likely be seized as proceeds of crime. Everything they'd built, everything they'd sacrificed, gone, not because of me, but because of the choices they'd made, year after year, bail after bail, excuse after excuse. My new phone, the one only Keisha and Nexus HR had the number for, buzzed with a text from my future manager. "Hey Layla, just checking you're still on track for Monday orientation. The team's excited to meet you." I voice texted back, "On schedule, currently in Montana, should reach Seattle by tomorrow afternoon." "Fantastic, your corporate housing is ready. Key code is 4827. Welcome to the Nexus family." Family, there was that word again. I thought about what it meant as I drove through Big Sky Country. Family was supposed to be the people who supported your dreams, not demanded you abandon them, who celebrated your achievements, not tore them up, who helped you become your best self, not dragged you into their worst choices. By that definition, I'd been an orphan long before I walked out that door. My phone rang, the new one. "Keisha. Hey girl, how's the road trip?" "Long," I admitted, "but good, really good. You see the news?" "Yeah. You okay?" I considered the question. My parents were facing prison. My brother would spend his 30s and 40s behind bars. The house I grew up in would be sold to pay restitution. By any measure, my family was destroyed. "You know what?" I said, watching the mountains rise in the distance. "I really am okay. For the first time in my life, I'm actually okay." "Good, because I'm planning to visit once you're settled. I want the full Seattle coffee shop tour." "Deal," I laughed. Though on my tech salary, I can probably afford better than coffee shops now. "Look at you, Miss Moneybags, don't forget us little people." "Never," I promised. "The people who actually acted like family, I'll never forget you." We chatted for another hour as I drove, making plans for her visit, discussing my new role at Nexus, gossiping about classmates, normal friend things, family things, really. When we hung up, I felt lighter. The miles between me and my old life stretched out, each one a small freedom. I'd lost the family I was born into, but maybe that just meant I was free to build the family I chose. 6 months later, I stood in my Seattle apartment, my own apartment, not corporate housing, video chatting with Keisha. "So how's the job?" she asked. "Incredible," I said, meaning it. "My team is amazing. My manager actually mentors me, and the work, cooish. I'm building things that millions of people use." "And the family situation?" "What family?" I said, only half joking. I heard through the legal grapevine that they all took plea deals. Marcus got 12 years, parents got 3 each, minimum security for them, at least. "Have they tried to contact you?" "They can't. Restraining order." After they gave interviews claiming I was somehow involved and escaped justice, my company's legal team shut that down fast. "Good," Keisha said firmly, "you deserve peace." I looked around my apartment, my space, bought with my money, decorated with my choices, no shrine to Marcus's potential, no guilt trip photos, just my life, clean and simple and mine. "You know what the funny thing is?" I said. They were right about one thing. Family does help family. They just never realized I wasn't their family. I was just someone who happened to share their DNA. "Their loss," Keisha said. "Seriously, Layla, their complete loss." After we hung up, I sat on my balcony, watching the Seattle sunset paint the sky purple and gold. My laptop sat beside me, full of code I was reviewing for Monday's sprint. My bank account held actual savings, not much yet, but growing. My credit score climbed monthly as I paid down student loans. None of it had been given to me. None of it could be taken away by someone else's bad choices. My phone buzzed with a text from my team lead. "Hey, we're doing happy hour tomorrow after work. You in?" "Absolutely," I typed back. These people, who barely knew me 6 months ago, had shown me more genuine support than my biological family ever had. They celebrated my wins, helped me through challenges, and never once asked me to sacrifice my future for their mistakes. If that wasn't family, I didn't know what was. But I was learning, day by day, choice by choice, I was learning. and for the first time in my life, I was home.
The cream-colored envelope slid across the mahogany table with practiced grace, but I caught the slight tremor in Emily's manicured hand. That tiny shake told me everything I needed to know. My mother-in-law was enjoying this moment far too much. My name is Louisa, and after 7 years of marriage into the Fernandez family, I've learned to read between the lines of every thoughtful gesture. A luxury anniversary cruise, Emily announced, her voice dripping honey. 10 days in the Mediterranean. Harrison, darling, you and your wife must be thrilled. I watched my husband's face carefully as he opened the envelope. His expression remained neutral, practiced. Thank you, Mother. This is generous. The dining room of their mansion felt suffocating, despite the high ceilings and expensive art. I reached for the cruise documents, noting how Harrison's fingers tightened slightly before releasing them. That's when I saw it. Or rather, didn't see it. The booking is only in Harrison's name, I said quietly, flipping through the papers. The cabin reservation, the dining arrangements, even the shore excursions, all listed under Mr. Harrison Fernandez. Emily's smile widened fractionally. Oh? Must be a clerical error. Though really, dear, does it matter? You'll be together anyway. I felt Harrison's Aunt Christine shift uncomfortably in her chair. She knew. They all knew. It's fine, Harrison cut in before I could respond. We can sort it out when we board. But he didn't meet my eyes. I smiled, the kind of smile I'd perfected over years of similar oversights. Of course. Thank you, Emily. It's a wonderful gift. Later that night in our bedroom, I carefully hung up the designer dress I'd worn to dinner. Harrison was in his study, as usual, probably texting his assistant Talia about some urgent work matter. My phone buzzed. A text from Wallace, my lawyer. Documents received. Timing works perfectly with maritime jurisdiction. Are you sure about this? I typed back, absolutely. 7 years of being erased is enough. They won't see it coming, Wallace replied. Not on their precious cruise. I walked to my closet, pushed aside the row of expensive clothes Harrison's family had chosen for me, and pulled out the false bottom I'd installed months ago. Inside lay a manila envelope stuffed with bank statements, email printouts, photos, and a burner phone. 7 months of evidence, carefully collected while playing the perfect wife. Another buzz from Wallace. Remember, once we serve papers in international waters, they're trapped. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide assets. Your mother-in-law's gift just gave us the perfect stage. I touched the cruise documents on my dresser. Emily had orchestrated this final slight thinking it would break me. Instead, she'd handed me exactly what I needed, a captive audience for what was coming. My phone lit up with a message from Harrison. Working late. Don't wait up. I texted back, of course, honey. Love you. Then I opened my laptop and double-checked my private email. The confirmation from the private investigator was there, along with fresh photos of Harrison and Talia entering a hotel yesterday afternoon. The bedroom door opened, and I quickly switched screens. Harrison walked in, loosening his tie. Mother wants us to have brunch tomorrow to discuss the cruise details. Wouldn't miss it, I said, closing my laptop. Though I should probably check if I can even board, since my name isn't on anything. He sighed that familiar sigh, the one that said I was being difficult. You're making something out of nothing. Again. I watched him walk into the bathroom, remembering how he'd used the same dismissive tone when Emily forgot my birthday last year, and when she told everyone at Christmas that my dress was inappropriate after she'd bought it for me herself, and when she changed our anniversary dinner reservations to exclude me, claiming there must have been a mix-up with the names. You're right, I called out, my voice sweet. I'm sure it's nothing. I pulled out my phone and sent one final text to Wallace. Start the countdown. 3 weeks until the cruise. Time to make them remember my name. In the bathroom, I heard Harrison on his phone, speaking quietly. Probably telling Talia good night. I opened the cruise brochure, studying the layout of the ship that would become my stage. The grand dining hall looked perfect for what I had planned. 7 years of being the good wife who just follows along. 7 years of swallowing my pride while they erased me piece by piece. But they forgot one thing. The quietest person in the room is the one who hears everything. And I've heard enough to burn their perfect world to the ground. The cruise ship loomed above us like a floating city, all gleaming white steel and endless rows of balconies. Emily practically glided through check-in, dropping the family name every chance she got. "We're the Fernandez party," she announced to the 4th staff member in 10 minutes. "The owner's suite." Her eyes flickered to me. "And this is Harrison's wife." The porter's smile wavered slightly as he checked his tablet. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I'm only showing Mr. Harrison as the registered guest for that suite." "Oh dear, another clerical error?" Emily's concern was theatrical. "Harrison, darling, sort this out." I watched my husband step forward, credit card ready, while I stood back with our luggage. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Probably Wallace checking in. I'd have to wait to respond. "All fixed," Harrison announced minutes later, handing me a keycard. "Though you really should have brought this up before we boarded." I smiled apologetically. "You're right. Silly me." That evening, while Harrison showered, I sat at the suite's desk with my laptop. The ship's Wi-Fi was excellent, exactly as I'd confirmed it would be when I'd researched this specific cruise line months ago. A soft knock at the door made me quickly switch screens. It was Christine. "Louisa, dear, the family's meeting for drinks in an hour." She peered past me into the suite. "Is Harrison here?" "Showering. I'll tell him." She lingered in the doorway. "I ran into Damien earlier. Harrison's lawyer friend? He's on board too. Such a coincidence." "Really?" I kept my voice neutral. "How nice." "Yes. They're probably discussing that offshore account situation." Christine's eyes widened slightly as she realized what she'd said. "I mean, the business matter. You know how it is with these financial things." "Of course." I smiled warmly. "Would you like to come in?" "Oh no, I should go change. Emily insists we dress properly for dinner. You did bring something appropriate?" After she left, I pulled out my phone and played back the recording of our conversation. Christine's slip about the offshore account was perfect. Exactly the kind of evidence Wallace had said we needed. I opened my suitcase and reached into the hidden compartment I'd sewn into the lining. The small voice recorder was still there, waiting. Damien liked to drink and talk, especially about his clever legal maneuvers. Now I just needed to get it into his suite. At drinks, Emily held court in the ship's most exclusive bar, introducing Harrison to every wealthy passenger within reach. I sat quietly, watching Damien knock back his third scotch while telling stories about law school. "Remember that professor?" He laughed, slapping Harrison's shoulder. "The one who taught us about hiding assets during divorce? Man, that class was valuable." I excused myself to use the restroom, palming the recorder. Damien's suite number was easy to get. I'd heard Emily arranging adjacent rooms for everyone earlier. The service corridor gave me access to his balcony. 10 seconds later, the recorder was tucked behind his desk, and I was back in the hallway. My phone buzzed again. "Wallace. Got your email. Bank records confirm unusual transfers starting 6 months ago. You were right." I thought back to that day, sitting in our home office, when Harrison's email had accidentally synced to my laptop. Seeing messages pop up from Talia. "Miss you already. Last night was amazing. When can we be together for real?" I'd stayed quiet, started gathering evidence, and watched as Harrison grew more careless. The hotel receipts, the business dinners, the way Talia started showing up at family events, always standing just a little too close to my husband. Back in our suite that night, Harrison was on his phone again. "Talia says there's an emergency at the office. She might need to fly out to meet us at one of the ports. Whatever you think is best, honey. I focused on unpacking my clothes, carefully hanging each piece. You know, you could try being more grateful, he said suddenly. This cruise wasn't cheap. I turned to face him. You're right. Thank you for bringing me on your family's cruise. He missed my emphasis on your, just like he missed me sliding my laptop into the room safe. The one containing screenshots of every email, every bank transfer, every hotel booking he thought he'd deleted. My phone lit up with a message from Amy, a friendly passenger I'd met earlier. Drinks tomorrow? You seem like you could use a friend on this boat. I replied yes as Harrison climbed into bed, his back turned to my side as usual. In the darkness, I touched the thin gold wedding band on my finger. 3 more days until we reached international waters. 3 days until the perfect wife disappeared, leaving only truth in her wake. Good night, Harrison, I whispered. He was already pretending to be asleep. Your mother-in-law is something else, Amy said, stirring her mojito. We sat in a quiet corner of the pool deck, watching Emily hold court with her usual crowd of admirers. I've never seen someone correct a waiter's pronunciation of bruschetta quite so aggressively. I sipped my drink, enjoying the afternoon sun. That's nothing. Wait until someone serves her wine at the wrong temperature. And your husband just lets her treat you like that? Harrison learned from the best. I nodded toward where he sat with Damien, both of them pretending to read financial papers while sneaking glances at their phones. The ship's horn sounded, announcing our approach to the next port. Right on schedule, I spotted Talia walking across the deck, designer luggage in tow. She'd done her homework, wearing the exact shade of blue Emily had praised at last month's charity gala. Who's that? Amy asked, following my gaze. Harrison's assistant. Here to handle an emergency at the office. I kept my voice light, even as I watched Talia approach our group. Emily's face lit up. Talia, darling, what a wonderful surprise. Harrison stood quickly, too quickly. Mother, you remember my assistant? The Tokyo deal needed immediate attention. I checked my phone under the table, making sure the camera was recording. Every greeting, every touch that lasted a second too long, every glance between my husband and his mistress, all documented. Louisa, Talia nodded at me, her smile perfect. I hope you don't mind me crashing your anniversary cruise. Duty calls. Of course not, I smiled back. Harrison's work is important. Amy's eyebrows shot up, but she said nothing. That evening, I dressed carefully for the captain's dinner, a black dress that Emily had deemed acceptable last Christmas. Harrison and Talia had disappeared for a business meeting, but I knew they'd show up eventually. They always did, just far enough apart to avoid suspicion. More wine? Christine appeared at my elbow, already tipsy. You seem tense, dear. I'm fine. Just tired from all the excitement. Speaking of excitement, did Harrison tell you about the new accounts? The ones in the Caymans? She giggled. Oops. Probably shouldn't mention those. My phone recorded every word. Mrs. Fernandez? A crew member approached. There's a call for you at the purser's desk. It was Wallace. Everything's in place, he said when I picked up the secure line. We've got enough evidence. Are you ready to proceed? I watched Harrison and Talia slip into the dining room through different doors, precisely 3 minutes apart. Yes, tomorrow night. Your husband's been busy, Wallace continued. 3 new transfers this morning. He really thinks he's covering his tracks. He learned from Damien. I lowered my voice. Speaking of which, check your email. The recording from his suite is enlightening. Back at dinner, Emily was explaining the proper way to address household staff. I sat quietly, playing my role one last time. My phone buzzed with a text from Amy. You okay? You've got that look. What look? I texted back. Like you're watching a house burn down and you're holding matches. I smiled into my wine glass. Close, but not quite. I was holding a blowtorch. Harrison leaned over. Mother wants us all to do the sunset yacht excursion tomorrow. Sounds lovely. Will Talia be joining us for that business meeting too? His jaw tightened. You're being ridiculous. Am I? I touched his arm gently. You have lipstick on your collar. That shade of pink isn't my color. He paled slightly, then recovered. You're imagining things. Again. Of course I am. I stood up. Excuse me. I need some air. On the deck, I finally checked the message I'd been avoiding all day. Wallace had sent a simple text. We've got enough. You ready? I typed back, tomorrow night, the grand dining hall. Make sure everyone's served. Amy found me at the railing. Want to talk about it? Ever watch someone dig their own grave? I asked, staring at the dark water below. The trick is to hand them exactly the shovel they want. That's cryptic. I laughed softly. Tomorrow night, come to dinner in the grand hall. Wear something nice. Why? Because some anniversaries deserve a proper celebration. I straightened my dress. And some families need to learn that just the wife can be the most dangerous person at the table. Below us, I could see Harrison and Talia in a shadowy corner of the lower deck, their silhouettes merging. I took a picture, added it to my evidence folder, and smiled. One more night of being the good wife who follows. Then I'd show them exactly where this path led. The florist arranged white roses in the grand dining hall while I watched from the doorway. Everything had to be perfect for tonight's anniversary celebration. Madam? The florist hesitated, clearly unsure how to address me after Emily's complicated instructions. Where would you like the card? I handed her the envelope. Inside was a note I'd spent weeks crafting. To my dearest husband, 7 years of memories, each one a lesson. My phone buzzed. Wallace. Papers are ready. Security's been briefed. Remember, once we start, there's no going back. I touched the small USB drive in my pocket, a complete record of Harrison's betrayal, backed up in triplicate. Good, I typed back. How's the account situation? He tried changing the PIN again this morning, as if that matters now. I smiled, remembering Harrison's smug face when he'd first suggested I let him handle all our finances. A wife shouldn't worry about such things, he'd said, Emily nodding approvingly behind him. Amy appeared beside me, coffee in hand. Fancy setup. Sure you want to do this? Watch this, I said, pulling out my phone. I opened the banking app and tried to log in. Access denied. He locked you out again? Third time this month. I showed her the screen. He thinks he's being clever. What a prince, Amy muttered. You know, I've been meaning to ask. Why go through with this whole dinner charade? Why not just serve him papers quietly? I led her to a quiet corner. Because some lessons need an audience. Emily spent 7 years making sure I had one for every humiliation. Now it's my turn. Speaking of Emily, Amy nodded toward the entrance where my mother-in-law was inspecting the table settings. Louisa, dear, Emily called out. The placement cards are all wrong. The family should be seated together. I walked over, the picture of compliance. Of course, I'll have them fixed. And do make sure Talia is comfortable. She's practically family now. Emily's smile was razor sharp. Though I suppose you've noticed that? I notice everything, Emily. I matched her smile. That's what good wives do, right? She paused, something flickering behind her eyes. But before she could respond, Harrison and Damien entered, deep in conversation. The offshore transfers are solid, Damien was saying. No one can trace. He stopped abruptly, seeing me. Don't mind me, I said sweetly. Just arranging flowers for our anniversary. Harrison barely glanced at the decorations. Make sure Mother approves everything. Oh, I'm sure she'll find tonight very memorable. I touched the USB drive again. Everyone will. Back in our suite, I laid out my outfit for dinner. A red dress Emily had called attention-seeking last year. Perfect for tonight's performance. My laptop chimed with an email from Wallace, Final confirmation needed. Guest list verified. Legal team standing by. I attached the last few photos I'd taken of Harrison and Talia's business meeting in the ship's library. Green light, I replied. Start at 8 p.m. sharp. A knock at the door made me jump. It was Christine, already swaying slightly from afternoon cocktails. Just checking you're wearing something appropriate tonight, she said, peering at my dress. Emily's very particular about special occasions. Oh, I know exactly what this occasion calls for. I helped her steady herself against the door frame. By the way, how's that offshore account working out? The one you mentioned yesterday? Christine's face went pale. That was just... Don't worry, I patted her arm. Everything will make sense at dinner. After she stumbled away, I got a text from Amy. Your mother-in-law just ordered the staff to rearrange the whole seating plan. Again. Let her, I typed back. Everyone will end up exactly where they need to be. I opened my safe one last time, checking the contents. Divorce papers, financial records, photos, emails, and a small recording device. 7 years of evidence, carefully collected while playing the perfect wife. Harrison's voice came from the bathroom. Have you seen my blue tie? The one you wore to meet Talia yesterday? I kept my tone innocent. It's with the dry cleaning. He appeared in the doorway, frowning. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, honey. Just helping you keep track of things. I closed the safe quietly. That's what wives are for, right? My phone lit up with Wallace's final message. Point of no return. Ready? I looked at Harrison, already back on his phone, probably texting Talia about tonight's seating arrangement. 7 years of playing their game, following their rules, swallowing their insults. Ready? I typed back. Time to serve dinner. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the grand dining hall as guests filtered in. Emily presided over the seating arrangements like a general organizing troops, while Harrison and Talia maintained their careful distance. Him at the bar, her chatting with Damien. Everything's ready, Amy whispered as she passed by. I've got my phone ready to record, just like you asked. I nodded, smoothing my red dress. The USB drive felt heavy in my clutch. Ladies and gentlemen, Emily stood tapping her glass. Before we begin this lovely anniversary dinner, I'd like to say a few words about my son and his wife. The pause before wife was deliberate. Classic Emily. 7 years ago, Harrison brought Louisa into our family. And while she's been... Emily's smile tightened. Different from what we expected, she's learned to follow our traditions. Harrison raised his glass, not meeting my eyes. Talia shifted in her seat. So here's to the happy couple, Emily concluded. May they continue to uphold the family name. Actually, I stood slowly. I'd like to say something too. Emily's smile froze. Harrison's head snapped up. 7 years is a long time to learn lessons, I began, reaching for my clutch. About marriage, about family, about loyalty. I pulled out the envelope of divorce papers and slid them across to Harrison. Happy anniversary, darling. The room went silent. Harrison stared at the envelope like it might bite him. Louisa, Emily's voice held a warning. This is hardly the time. Oh, but it is. I pulled out the USB drive. Because I have a gift for you too, Emily. Would someone mind connecting this to the dining room's display screen? Before anyone could stop her, Amy had already plugged it in. The first image appeared. Harrison and Talia entering a hotel, time-stamped last week. What is this? Harrison stood up, his face red. Evidence, I said calmly. Of the affair you've been having with your assistant. Of the money you've been hiding offshore. Of every little scheme you and Damien cooked up to protect your assets. Damien choked on his wine. You can't prove... I pressed play on my phone. His voice filled the room. The offshore accounts are untraceable. Harrison's wife will never see a dime. Christine gasped. Emily's face turned ashen. But wait, I continued. There's more. Emily, remember all those clerical errors with my name? The forgotten birthdays? The deliberate humiliations? I clicked to the next slide. I kept records of those too. You ungrateful little... Emily started to rise, but Harrison grabbed her arm. Enough, he hissed. We can handle this privately. Like you handled your Tokyo business trips privately? I played another recording, Talia's voice this time, discussing their planned future together. The dining room had become a theater, other passengers openly staring. Someone was filming on their phone. Security, Harrison called out. Remove her. They can't, I smiled. Wallace? Care to explain? My lawyer stepped out from the corner where he'd been waiting. Mr. Harrison, as we're in international waters, and given the evidence of financial fraud we've uncovered, any attempt to remove your wife would be legally unfortunate. You planned this, Emily whispered. All of it. I learned from the best, Mother. I savored the word. You taught me how important appearances are, how the family name must be protected. I clicked to the final slide. Bank statements showing Harrison's hidden accounts. Speaking of protection, the authorities are very interested in these transactions. Damien, I believe your law license might be in jeopardy. Talia stood abruptly. I should go. Stay, I said. You're part of the family now, remember? Emily said so herself. Harrison lunged for the USB drive, but Amy had already removed it. It's too late, I told him. Everything's been copied, distributed, and filed with the relevant authorities. You'll get nothing, he snarled. I made sure. Check your accounts, Wallace suggested mildly. Harrison grabbed his phone, his face draining of color as he tried to log in. What did you do? Frozen, I explained. All of them, even the secret ones. Turns out fraud leaves quite a paper trail. Emily slumped in her chair, her perfect posture finally breaking. The scandal is just beginning. I picked up my clutch. Consider it my parting gift. A lesson in consequences. As I walked toward the door, I paused beside Emily. By the way, my name isn't Harrison's wife. It's Louisa. You might want to remember that. The press certainly will. The last thing I heard was Amy's delighted laugh and the sound of Emily calling for smelling salts. In the hallway, Wallace fell into step beside me. Well done, he said. Where to now? I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in 7 years. I hear the ship's ice bar is excellent. Perfect place to celebrate a divorce. Behind us, chaos erupted in the dining room. But I didn't look back. Some fires are meant to burn everything down. The lock clicked satisfyingly as I secured myself in my suite. Outside, I could hear the whispers and footsteps of passengers discussing what they dubbed the Table 9 showdown. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since I'd left the dining room. Harrison, Emily, Christine. Even Talia had tried calling. I silenced them all except for Amy and Wallace. A sharp knock rattled the door. Louisa! Emily's voice was shrill. Open this door immediately. I don't think I will, I called back, pouring myself a glass of champagne I'd ordered earlier. You vindictive little... She rattled the handle. Do you have any idea what you've done? Exactly what you taught me, I replied calmly. Protect yourself at all costs. Isn't that the family motto? Heavy footsteps approached. Harrison. Security's coming to remove you from the ship. Wallace? I said loudly enough to carry through the door. Care to explain maritime law again? My lawyer's voice came from somewhere in the hallway. Any attempt to forcibly remove Mrs. Louisa from her cabin would constitute illegal detainment in international waters. The cruise line is already aware. You planned everything, Harrison's voice cracked slightly. All of it. The cruise, the timing. No, darling. Your mother planned the cruise. I just played the cards she dealt me. I sipped my champagne. By the way, how's Talia handling the spotlight? A new voice joined the chorus. Christine, slurring slightly. Emily's having chest pains. Are you happy now? Chest pains? I laughed. Funny how those happen when accountability shows up. My phone buzzed with a text from Amy. OMG, the video is already trending. Her Table 9 showdown is taking off. I opened social media, and sure enough, shaky footage of my presentation was spreading. The comments were brutal. Rich family gets owned by trophy wife. That mother-in-law had it coming. Another knock, gentler this time. Louisa? It was Damien. Let's discuss this reasonably. There might be a way to keep this quiet. Like the way you kept Harrison's offshore accounts quiet? I played his recorded confession through the door. Or should we discuss your creative accounting advice? You recorded me? His voice rose. That's illegal. Actually, Wallace cut in international waters. Stop saying international waters, Emily shrieked. I heard a commotion outside. Probably ship security arriving to control the scene. My phone lit up with a call from Wallace. Coast Guard's been notified of a potential situation, he said when I answered. They're monitoring to ensure no one tries anything stupid. How are you holding up? Better than Emily, I replied, loud enough to carry. I hear she's having chest pains. A new text from Amy. Holy shit. Some passengers are selling footage to entertainment sites. This is going viral. I walked to the balcony, champagne in hand. Below, I could see passengers gathered, pointing up at the unfolding drama. 7 years of swallowed rage, of perfect smiles and quiet compliance, all exploding in one perfectly orchestrated night. Louisa. Harrison's voice was closer to the door now, softer. Please, we can talk about this. Like we talked about Talia? I asked. Or the money you've been hiding? Or how about all those times your mother erased me while you stood by? Silence. That's what I thought. I took another sip. By the way, Wallace has copies of everything. If anything happens to me, it all goes public. Every email, every photo, every bank transfer. You're bluffing, Emily said, but her voice wavered. I played another recording, Harrison and Talia planning their future together. Am I? More security arrived, dispersing the growing crowd of onlookers. My phone buzzed with news alerts. Cruise ship drama, wealthy family's scandal goes viral, and maritime revenge, wife serves cold justice at sea. Amy knocked on my balcony door. We had connecting rooms, something I'd arranged months ago. I let her in. You're kind of infamous now, she grinned, holding up her phone. Twitter is living for this. Outside, I could still hear Emily demanding action, Harrison trying to damage control, and Damien probably having a career crisis. But in here, watching the sunset over the ocean, I felt nothing but peace. Was it worth it? Amy asked, accepting a glass of champagne. I thought about every fake smile, every subtle dig, every time Harrison chose his mother over me. They spent 7 years teaching me how to destroy someone politely. I raised my glass. I just turned out to be a better student than they expected. A final text from Wallace popped up. Damage is done. No taking it back now. Good, I typed back. Some things shouldn't be taken back. They should be burned down and rebuilt from scratch. Through the door, I heard Emily finally admit defeat. Harrison, call the family lawyer. Now. I smiled. The night was still young, and karma was just getting started. The ship docked under a bright morning sun, but the atmosphere was anything but cheerful. Harrison waited by the gangway, his usually perfect appearance noticeably disheveled. Behind him, Emily sat in a wheelchair, attended by the ship's doctor. Her chest pains had evolved into a convenient crisis. We need to talk, Harrison said, as I approached with my luggage. Privately. Nothing about this is private anymore. I nodded toward the crowd of passengers filming on their phones. How's social media treating you? I can offer a settlement, he lowered his voice. Right now, whatever you want. Wallace appeared at my side. My client isn't interested in negotiations. The prenup, Harrison started, becomes void in cases of infidelity, I finished. You really should have read it more carefully, instead of assuming it expired after 5 years. Emily's wheelchair squeaked as she pushed herself forward. You ungrateful little witch. After everything we gave you— Gave me? I laughed. You mean like the cruise booking without my name? Or the birthday party where you told everyone I wasn't invited? Or maybe you mean giving me a front row seat to your son's affair? A town car pulled up to the curb. Wallace opened the door for me. This isn't over. Harrison grabbed my arm. Actually, it is. I pulled free. Check your office email. Your firm's partners are very interested in those offshore accounts, especially the ones hiding client money. His face went pale. Behind him, Damien was having an intense phone conversation, probably with his ethics board. You've destroyed everything, Emily wheezed dramatically. No, you did that. I turned to face her fully. Every time you undermined me, every time you encouraged Harrison's worst behavior, every time you thought your money made you untouchable, you built this moment yourself. My phone buzzed. Amy had sent a meme made from the dining room footage, my face superimposed over various revenge movie posters. You're trending, she texted. Revenge at sea is going crazy. The media's calling, Harrison said desperately. What am I supposed to tell them? The truth? I suggested. Or is that too foreign a concept? Christine stumbled forward, still drunk from last night. The family name, our reputation. We'll survive, I said, or it won't. Either way, not my problem anymore. Wallace guided me toward the car. The papers are being processed. Given the evidence, it should be quick. You can't just walk away, Harrison called after me. I turned back one last time. Watch me. Oh, and Talia? I spotted her trying to hide behind a pillar. The assistant position might be opening up soon. I hear the firm's facing some investigations. In the car, I finally let out the scream I'd been holding in for 7 years. It started as a laugh and ended in tears. Not of sadness, but of release. My phone lit up with notifications. News sites were running the story. Cruise ship revenge, wife exposes family's secrets at sea, and maritime marriage meltdown, social media reacts. Your grandmother's cottage is ready, Wallace said, checking his tablet. Everything's been transferred to your name, completely separate from the family assets. Emily must have loved that, I smiled, remembering how she'd sneered at my grandmother's quaint little house when she'd left it to me. A text from Amy popped up with a video link. Someone had set the dining room scene to dramatic movie music. You're a legend, she wrote. Also, karma's already hitting. Harrison's firm is trending for all the wrong reasons. I watched the city pass by through the car window, feeling lighter with each mile between me and the dock. 7 years of playing the perfect wife, of swallowing insults with a smile, of watching Harrison choose his mother over me again and again. Wallace? I asked. Was it worth it? All of it? He showed me his phone, a news alert about Harrison's law firm launching an internal investigation, another about Damien facing an ethics inquiry, and a society page photo of Emily being helped into an ambulance, her perfect image finally cracked. You tell me, he said. I thought about the dining room, about Emily's face when the evidence appeared on screen, about Harrison realizing his carefully constructed world was burning down. They thought money made them invincible, I said. They never expected the quiet one to be taking notes. My phone buzzed one last time. An email from a publisher. Your story has captured the nation's attention. Would you be interested in telling it in full? I smiled, thinking of all the quiet wives out there, swallowing their pride, playing their roles. Maybe it was time for a different kind of family story. Yes, I typed back. I think it's time everyone learned what happens when you push the good wife too far. Behind us, the cruise ship's horn sounded, a final farewell to the family I just burned to the ground. The cottage windows let in streams of morning light as I set up my new home office. My rescue dog, Max, sprawled across the sun-warmed hardwood floors while I unpacked the last box, the one marked Evidence. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Law firm partners vote to remove Harrison following financial investigation. Karma's not just a concept, I muttered to Max. It's a promise. Amy's call came right on schedule. Have you seen the latest? Emily had to step down from 3 charity boards. And Christine is in rehab. Wallace mentioned that. I settled into my grandmother's old writing desk. How's the internet taking it? Your story's being shared in every women's group. You're like a folk hero for trapped wives everywhere. The doorbell rang. Max barked once, then wagged his tail as I opened the door to find Wallace holding a thick manila envelope. It's done, he said, handing it to me. Divorce finalized. The judge was particularly interested in those offshore account records. I led him to the kitchen, where coffee was already brewing. How bad is it for them? Harrison's firm is imploding. Turns out he wasn't just hiding his own money. Wallace accepted a mug. Damien's been disbarred. And Emily, he smiled. Let's just say the society pages aren't being kind. My laptop chimed with an email notification, another interview request. The publisher wanted the full story, from first meeting Harrison to the final showdown at sea. You should do it. Wallace nodded at my screen. People need to hear how these things happen, how abuse isn't always bruises. It's the quiet cuts, I agreed, the small erosions of dignity, death by 1,000 polite humiliations. My phone lit up with a text from Talia. I'm sorry. I should have known he'd do to me what he did to you. Looks like your replacement's having regrets, Wallace noted. She'll learn. They all do. I opened my laptop and created a new document. The cursor blinked, waiting. Another news alert. Emily hospitalized again following social media backlash. Still playing victim, I muttered. Speaking of playing, Wallace pulled out his tablet. Your new PR firm is taking off. 3 clients already, all wanting to rebuild after toxic relationships. I thought about my grandmother's words before she died. That house they mock? It's your escape hatch, dear. Use it when you're ready. She'd known. She'd seen through Emily's perfect manners and Harrison's charming smile. She'd left me not just a cottage, but a foundation to rebuild on. Max padded over, resting his head on my lap as I began to type. To the woman reading this, wondering if she's crazy for noticing the small cruelties, the subtle erasures, the polite degradations. You're not crazy, you're not oversensitive, and you're not alone. My doorbell rang again. This time it was Amy, holding wine and takeout. Thought you could use dinner and gossip. The cruise line's using your story in their sexual harassment training. I laughed. Really? Apparently you're a case study in how not to treat passengers. She set out containers. Oh, and Harrison's mother? She tried to join the country club in the next town. They turned her down. Money can't buy reputation back, Wallace mused. I raised my wine glass. To karma. To evidence, Wallace countered. To both, Amy finished. And to quiet wives who keep receipts. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Christine. You were right. About everything. I'm getting help. I showed it to Wallace. Think she means it? Does it matter? He gestured at my comfortable new home, my thriving business, my peaceful life. You've already won. Back at my laptop, I continued typing. They think silence means weakness. They think compliance means defeat. But sometimes the quiet ones are just gathering evidence, building strength, waiting for the perfect moment to show them exactly who they underestimated. Amy peered over my shoulder. The book's really happening? People need to know, I said. About the subtle abuse, the financial traps, the family dynamics that enable it all. And the escape routes, Wallace added. I looked around my grandmother's cottage. Now my sanctuary, my fresh start, my victory palace. Max dozed peacefully, The evening sun painted the walls gold, and my phone remained blissfully free of Harrison's name. "That's the thing about karma," I typed. "It's not about revenge. It's about balance. And sometimes, balance requires you to burn the whole road behind you and build a new one ahead." Amy topped off our glasses. "To new roads?" I smiled, thinking of Emily's crumbling empire, Harrison's ruined career, and my own unexpected rise from quiet wife to voice of change. "To new roads," I agreed, "and to the women brave enough to build them."
The day my mother called me selfish was the day I stopped being her daughter. I was 17, standing in our kitchen with my college acceptance letter still warm in my hands, when she delivered the verdict that would shape the next decade of my life. My name is Felicity, and that summer changed everything. I had just been accepted into Harvard Business School's early admission program, my dream school, my ticket out. But apparently, that didn't matter as much as babysitting my bratty 15-year-old cousin Tessa during our annual family vacation to the Maldives. "What do you mean you can't watch Tessa?" Mom's voice carried that familiar edge of disappointment. "She needs supervision while Barry attends his business meetings." "Mom, I have 3 scholarship essays due next week. I can't spend my days chasing after Tessa while she shops and takes selfies." "Felicity." She set down her coffee mug with deliberate slowness. "Family comes first. Always." "My future comes first," I countered, gripping the acceptance letter tighter. "Harvard isn't just going to wait around while I—" "Oh, enough about Harvard." She threw her hands up. "You're being selfish. Tessa needs you. Barry needs you. The family needs you." "I'm not being selfish. I'm being practical. Tessa's old enough to— If you won't help with Tessa, then don't bother coming on the trip at all." The kitchen fell silent. Even the humming refrigerator seemed to hold its breath. "You don't mean that," I whispered. "I do." Her eyes were steel. "Either you help with Tessa or you stay home." I lifted my chin. "Fine, I'll stay home." "Excuse me?" "I said I'll stay home. I'll work on my essays, apply for more scholarships, and prepare for my future. You can all go have fun in the Maldives without me." Mom's laugh was sharp and hollow. "Oh, sweetie, this isn't just about this summer. If you choose your precious essays over family now, don't expect to be included in any family trips going forward." "That's ridiculous," I said, but my voice shook. "You can't just—" "I can, and I will. Actions have consequences, Felicity. It's time you learned that." She was right about one thing. Actions did have consequences. That summer, while they posted pictures from their beachfront villa, I worked 2 jobs and finished my scholarship applications. When they went skiing in Aspen that winter, I was interviewing for internships. Year after year, their vacation photos appeared on social media without me in them. My sister Sophie would sometimes call, her voice quiet and apologetic. "Mom's being stubborn," she'd say. "Give her time." But time only hardened the divide. I threw myself into my studies, then my career. Every exclusion, every missed family moment became fuel for my ambition. I worked harder, climbed higher, until success wasn't just a goal, it was my revenge. Now, 16 years later, I sat in my office overlooking the crystal-clear waters of my own luxury resort, staring at a reservation that had just landed on my desk. The name jumped out at me like a slap: Powell Wise Family Reunion, Party of 7. My mother, my sister, Uncle Barry, Tessa, and the others had no idea they'd just booked their summer vacation at my resort. They didn't know I owned this slice of paradise, or that I'd built it from the ground up. They probably thought I was still that selfish teenager who chose ambition over family. Walker, my business partner, leaned against my desk. "You could just cancel their reservation." "No," I smiled, running my finger over the confirmation letter. "I want them to see exactly what their selfish little girl accomplished." "Felicity," he gave me that look, the one that said I was playing with fire. "Don't worry," I said, standing to face the window. "I'm not going to make a scene. I'm just going to give them the best vacation of their lives and watch their faces when they realize who's been hosting them. My phone buzzed. Another booking notification. I glanced at it and froze. The dates finally registered in my mind. They'd booked their stay over July 15th, my mother's 60th birthday. I laughed, the sound echoing off the glass walls of my office. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Should I be concerned about that laugh? Walker asked. Not at all, I replied, already planning the welcome champagne, the suite upgrades, the special birthday arrangements. I'm just going to give my mother exactly what she deserves, the birthday surprise of a lifetime. The Powell Wise party arrives in exactly 1 week, Walker announced, dropping a stack of files on my desk. Are you absolutely sure about this? I was inspecting the newly renovated beachfront villa, the one I'd specifically assigned to my family. The ocean breeze carried the scent of plumeria through the open windows as I adjusted a throw pillow for the 100th time. Stop asking me that, I said, moving to straighten a painting. I've been sure about this for 16 years. It's just... Walker hesitated, following me onto the villa's private deck. This isn't just any week. It's your mother's birthday celebration. I'm aware. And you don't think that might make things more explosive? I turned to face him. What's your point? My point is that revenge served cold is one thing. Revenge served on your mother's 60th birthday might be nuclear. A staff member appeared at the door, clipboard in hand. Ms. Felicity, the special order champagne has arrived. Where would you like it stored? In the main cellar, please. And make sure the 82 Bordeaux is ready for the birthday dinner. After the staff member left, Walker raised an eyebrow. Expensive wine? That doesn't sound very vengeful. The best revenge is success, Walker. I want them to see exactly what I've built while they were busy excluding me from their perfect little family vacations. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. Hey sis, wish you could join us next week. Missing you. I ignored it, just like I'd ignored the last dozen similar messages. Sophie meant well, but she'd never stood up to Mom, never challenged the status quo. Her quiet support meant nothing when she still participated in my exclusion. Speaking of family, Walker said, watching me pocket my phone, your sister's been trying to reach you. I know. You could tell her you'll be here. And ruin the surprise? Where's the fun in that? I walked back inside, checking the amenities list. Besides, she's part of this too. She could have refused to go on these trips without me, but she didn't. Walker picked up a framed photo from the side table, one I'd specifically placed there. It showed my family in the Maldives, the vacation I'd missed because I wouldn't babysit Tessa. They were all smiling, sun-kissed and happy, not a care in the world about the daughter they left behind. You know what this reminds me of? Walker set down the photo. Remember that investor who tried to steal your initial business plan? The one you could have destroyed but chose to work with instead? That was different. Was it? Because you told me then that success was the best revenge too. But you didn't just show him your success. You turned him into an ally. Made more money that way. I stopped my inspection rounds. Are you suggesting I try to reconcile with them? I'm suggesting that maybe there's more than one way to win this game. Before I could respond, my tablet chimed with an alert. I pulled up the message and felt my breath catch. They've added a note to their reservation. They want to book the private dining room for a special birthday dinner. Guest count 15. 15? Walker frowned. I thought it was 7. They've invited extended family. I scrolled through the updated guest list, recognizing names I hadn't heard in years. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone except me, apparently. Felicity? No. I held up a hand. Don't. This just proves I'm right. They're still excluding me, still pretending I don't exist. Well, they're about to find out just how wrong they've been about me all these years. I strode to the villa's bar and grabbed a bottle of water, trying to calm my racing heart. Make sure everything is perfect for their arrival. I want them to be completely relaxed, totally at ease. Then, when they're settling in for their first dinner, you'll make your grand entrance? Something like that. I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. After all, what kind of host would I be if I didn't personally welcome such important guests? Walker sighed, picking up his files. Just remember, you built this place to be a paradise. Don't turn it into a battlefield. As he left, I walked out onto the deck again, watching the sunset paint the ocean in shades of gold and pink. In just 7 days, my family would be standing here, admiring the same view. They'd be amazed by the luxury, impressed by the service, completely unaware that their black sheep daughter was the architect of their perfect vacation, until I chose to reveal myself. I pulled out my phone and finally replied to Sophie's text, "Don't worry about me. I have a feeling this will be a birthday Mom never forgets." I watched their arrival from my office's hidden observation deck, heart pounding as the resort's luxury shuttle pulled up to the entrance. Mom stepped out first, still elegant at 60, her designer sunglasses perched perfectly on her nose. Sophie followed, then Uncle Barry helping Tessa with her mountain of luggage. "They're here," Walker announced unnecessarily through my earpiece. "I can see that." I adjusted my resort manager's blazer. "How's the welcome champagne?" "Chilled and ready. Are you sure you want to do the initial greeting yourself?" "Absolutely." I took a deep breath. Time to make an entrance. I rode the private elevator down to the lobby, timing my arrival just as they finished checking in. The marble floors echoed with my heels as I approached the front desk, where my mother was already questioning the staff about dinner reservations. "Welcome to Paradise Cove," I said, my voice carrying across the lobby. "I trust your journey was comfortable?" Mom turned, the polite smile freezing on her face as recognition hit her. She stumbled back slightly, catching herself on the counter. "Felicity?" "Mrs. Powell," I replied smoothly, extending my hand. "As resort manager, I personally welcome all our VIP guests." The lobby fell silent. Sophie's mouth hung open, Tessa clutched her phone mid-selfie, and Uncle Barry's luggage slipped from his grip, thudding onto the marble floor. "Resort manager?" Mom's voice wavered. "Among other things," I gestured to the waiting staff, "please, allow us to escort you to your villa. We've prepared welcome refreshments." Mom's shock quickly morphed into something else, that familiar calculating look I'd grown up with. "You work here?" "Not exactly." I led them toward the beachfront path, enjoying every click of my heels against the wooden boardwalk. "I own this place." The sound of someone choking behind me was probably Uncle Barry. Inside the villa, champagne was already being poured as the family scattered around the living room, still processing my presence. Sophie kept shooting me uncertain smiles, while Tessa hadn't looked up from her phone, probably already posting about this dramatic turn of events. "This is unexpected," Mom finally said, gripping her champagne flute too tightly. "Is it?" I perched on the arm of a chair. 16 years is a long time to wonder what happened to your daughter." "We didn't wonder," she replied sharply. "You chose to distance yourself." "Did I?" I smiled, all teeth. I seem to remember being told I wasn't welcome on family vacations unless I agreed to be Tessa's personal babysitter. "That's not," Mom started, but Uncle Barry cut her off. "Wait, what? That's why Felicity stopped coming on trips?" "It's ancient history," Mom waved her hand dismissively. "What matters is that Felicity has apparently done well for herself." Her tone suggested she was still deciding if that was a good thing. "Very well," I confirmed, standing. "Paradise Cove is one of the top-rated luxury resorts in the Pacific. We're booked solid year-round, and our waiting list is months long." "Then why accept our reservation?" Sophie finally spoke up. "Because family comes first." I echoed Mom's old words back to her. "Always." The silence that followed was delicious. "Well," I continued, moving toward the door, "I'll let you all get settled. Your dinner reservation is at 7 in our main restaurant. I've taken the liberty of arranging something special." "Felicity, wait!" Sophie called out, but I was already closing the door behind me. Walker was waiting outside. That went well. That was just the appetizer. I started walking back to my office. Wait until they see what I have planned for dinner. I saw your mother's face. He fell into step beside me. She looked shocked, impressed, horrified, scared, he said quietly, like she's waiting for the other shoe to drop. Good. I stopped at the elevator. She should be. Felicity, don't start, Walker. This is just beginning. The elevator doors opened with a soft ding. By the way, did you confirm the photographer for Mom's birthday dinner? Yes, but perfect. I stepped into the elevator. Make sure they get plenty of shots of everyone's faces when I give my toast. As the doors closed, I caught a glimpse of my family's villa in the distance. Through the windows, I could see them all huddled together, probably discussing what just happened. Mom was gesturing animatedly, Sophie looked worried, and Tessa was finally looking up from her phone, staring in my direction with an unreadable expression. Let them talk. Let them worry. They had no idea what I had planned for the next few days. After all, revenge, like fine wine, only gets better with age. I was reviewing the evening's dinner arrangements when someone knocked on my office door. Sophie stood there, looking exactly like she did when we were kids, and she'd sneak into my room after one of Mom's lectures. Can we talk? She asked. I'm rather busy. I gestured at the papers on my desk. Please? She stepped inside anyway. This is the first time I've seen you in person in, 5 years? 4 years? 8 months? Your wedding. I set down my pen. You know, the one where Mom seated me at the back with the college friends you haven't spoken to since freshman year. Sophie winced. I didn't know about the seating arrangement until... Save it. I stood up, walking to the window. What do you want, Sophie? I want to understand. This place, it's incredible. Why didn't you tell me? Would it have mattered? Would you have stopped going on the family trips if you knew? Before she could answer, another voice cut in. Excuse me, is this a bad time? A man stood in my doorway, tall, tanned, with the kind of smile that probably got him out of speeding tickets. I recognized him from the guest registry. Connor, staying in the oceanfront suite for a week. Mr. Garrett. I straightened. How can I help you? Please, call me Connor. He glanced between Sophie and me. I was hoping to discuss extending my stay, but I can come back. No need. I turned to Sophie. We're done here. We're not, Sophie insisted. And you know it. Connor cleared his throat. I actually have a dinner reservation in 20 minutes. Perhaps I could come back tomorrow? Something about his diplomatic tone made me pause. Join us for dinner instead. I was just about to head down to inspect the service anyway. Sophie's eyes widened. Felicity? Perfect, Connor smiled. Though I hope I'm not interrupting a family reunion. Actually, I said, you're providing a welcome buffer for one. The restaurant was already filling up when we arrived. I spotted my mother at our family's reserved table, watching us with narrowed eyes as we approached with Connor. Mom, I said sweetly, I hope you don't mind if we join you. Mr. Garrett here is one of our most valued guests. Of course not, she replied with equally false sweetness. We always have room for friends. Tessa looked up from her phone for the first time since arriving. Wait, aren't you that guy from the fitness app commercials? Connor laughed, guilty as charged, though I prefer to think of myself as a tech entrepreneur who occasionally gets roped into marketing. Fascinating, Mom cut in. Felicity, dear, I was just telling everyone about how surprised we are to find you here. Who would have thought our little rebel would end up in hospitality? I signaled the waiter for wine. Life is full of surprises, isn't it? Like finding out your daughter owns one of the most exclusive resorts in the Pacific, rather than just working here. Uncle Barry choked on his water. Owns? Tessa's eyes went wide. Like, for real? For real, I confirmed, as the sommelier appeared with a bottle of ridiculously expensive Bordeaux. I built this place from the ground up. Every detail, Every design choice, every luxury amenity, all me. With investors, surely, Mom interjected. Actually, Connor spoke up, Paradise Cove is famous for being independently owned. It was a major talking point when I was researching vacation spots. He turned to me. I had no idea I was dining with the founder herself. Mom's smile tightened. How lovely that our Felicity has made such interesting connections. Speaking of connections, I said, Tessa, how's college? Still studying fashion design? How did you know that? Tessa blinked. I make it my business to know everything about my guests. I sipped my wine, including the fact that Mom's birthday dinner this weekend will have 15 people, not 7. The table fell silent. You should join us, Sophie blurted out, for Mom's birthday dinner. You're here anyway, and I'll be there, I interrupted. I'm hosting it after all. Mom set down her fork with a clang. You're what? Hosting. I've arranged everything. The menu, the wine pairings, the entertainment. Consider it 16 years of missed birthday presents rolled into one. How thoughtful. Mom's voice could have frozen the tropical air around us. Connor cleared his throat. The food here is exceptional. I particularly recommend the sea bass. As conversation reluctantly turned to safer topics, I caught Sophie watching me with a mixture of concern and curiosity. She'd seen something in my expression, something that worried her. Good, because the birthday dinner wasn't just going to be a celebration, it was going to be a reckoning. And I had the perfect toast prepared. The private dining room buzzed with conversation as 15 members of my extended family settled in for Mom's birthday dinner. I stood at the entrance, watching them fawn over the elaborate decorations, the custom menu cards, the crystal champagne flutes, all carefully chosen to showcase exactly what their outcast daughter had achieved. Quite the turnout. Connor appeared beside me, adjusting his tie. Thanks for the last-minute invitation. Thanks for accepting. I needed a friendly face in the crowd. Ready to watch the show? Is that what this is? Before I could respond, Mom clinked her glass, commanding attention like she always did. Before we begin, I want to thank everyone for coming to celebrate my 60th birthday. And... She paused, looking directly at me. Thank you, Felicity, for this unexpected hospitality. Oh, I'm just getting started, I smiled, moving to the head of the table. Would anyone like to see some photos of the resort's development? I had them specially prepared for tonight. Walker, right on cue, dimmed the lights as a screen descended from the ceiling. The first image appeared, a younger me, standing on an undeveloped beach, blueprints in hand. This was day 1, I said, when it was just empty beach and a dream, and a trust fund I'd been saving since I was 17. Mom's champagne glass froze halfway to her lips. The next slide showed construction beginning. I lived in a trailer on site for 2 years, overseeing every detail. This was during the summer of 2015. I believe you were all in Bali that year. Aunt Margaret shifted uncomfortably. Uncle Barry suddenly became very interested in his napkin. And here, another slide, is opening day. We were fully booked within hours of announcing our launch. The same day, actually, that the family was posting photos from that ski trip in Aspen. Felicity, Sophie warned quietly. But my favorite photo, I continued, as the next image appeared, is this one. The screen showed a familiar scene, my family on a beach, all smiles and sunburns. The vacation I'd missed because I wouldn't babysit Tessa. Where did you get that? Mom's voice shook slightly. It was on social media. Public post. I've kept every photo from every vacation I wasn't invited to. 16 years worth. Tessa put down her phone. Is that why I found all those old vacation albums in my suite? You did what? Mom snapped. I thought our guests might enjoy some light reading. I signaled the servers to begin serving dinner. I had copies made, one for each room. That's enough! Mom stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. I don't know what game you're playing. Game? I laughed. This isn't a game, Mom. This is karma. This is what happens when you cast out your daughter for daring to have ambitions beyond babysitting. I never cast you out. I chose to prioritize my future over being Tessa's unpaid nanny, and you punished me for it, for 16 years. The room fell silent except for the gentle clink of servers placing plates. Is that true? Tessa looked at her father. Is that why Felicity stopped coming on trips? Uncle Barry wouldn't meet her eyes. It was complicated. It wasn't complicated at all, I said. Mom gave me an ultimatum. Babysit or be excluded. I chose exclusion. And look where it got me. Where it got you, Mom's voice was ice, is bitter and alone in your big, empty resort, orchestrating elaborate revenge plots instead of simply talking to your family. Talking? I stepped closer to her. Like when I tried to talk to you after graduation, or when I tried to explain why I couldn't watch Tessa, or maybe like when I sent you my business plan and you returned it unopened. I returned it because you were being stubborn. I was being ambitious. Ladies, Connor stood up, his voice calm but firm. Perhaps we should stay out of this. Mom and I snapped simultaneously. No, he said, surprising us both. Look around. This is supposed to be a celebration, but you're both so focused on winning that you can't see what you're losing. I followed his gesture to see Sophie crying silently, Tessa staring at her lap, Uncle Barry looking years older than he had at check-in. Felicity, Walker appeared at my elbow. There's an urgent call from the mainland about tomorrow's shipment. There wasn't. It was our predetermined escape signal if things got too heated. I took it. Enjoy your dinner, I said, straightening my jacket. The resort's signature chocolate souffle will be served for dessert. It's made with the same recipe I was working on the summer I wasn't invited to the Maldives. As I walked out, I heard Mom's quiet voice. What have we done? But I didn't stop. I couldn't. Because if I stopped now, I'd have to admit that revenge didn't taste nearly as sweet as I'd imagined. I was in my office, staring at weather reports warning of an approaching storm, when someone knocked. Not Walker's usual quick rap or Sophie's hesitant tap. This was determined, steady. Come in, Tessa. My cousin stepped inside, looking different from the phone-obsessed girl who'd arrived days ago. She carried one of the photo albums I'd planted in their rooms. How'd you know it was me? Security cameras. I pointed to the monitor on my desk. Plus, you're the only one brave enough to face me after last night's dinner. About that, she sat down without being invited. I've been looking through these albums, all the vacations, all the photos, 16 years of them. Quite the collection, isn't it? It's messed up, she said bluntly. What they did to you, what I did to you. I hadn't expected that. You were 15. Yeah, and I was a spoiled brat who threw tantrums until I got my way. She opened the album to a specific page. Look at this one. Me sulking because Dad wouldn't buy me a jet ski. And here's you, in the only photo I could find from that summer, studying at your desk while we were all in the Maldives. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Storm's coming, I said, trying to change the subject. Stop deflecting. Tessa leaned forward. You built all this to show them they were wrong about you, right? To prove something? I built it because I'm good at what I do. Bull. She stood up, pacing. You built it because every time they excluded you, every time they chose me over you, it made you more determined to succeed. I get it now. A knock at the door interrupted us. Walker entered, looking concerned. The storm's picking up speed, he said. We need to start moving guests inland. Already? I checked the radar. The mass of red and orange had grown significantly. It wasn't supposed to hit until tomorrow. Weather Service just upgraded it. We need to start evacuations now. My phone buzzed. A text from Connor. Entire families gathering in the main lobby. Thought you should know. Great, I muttered. Just what I need. Go, Tessa said. Be the boss. Show them exactly who you've become. The lobby was chaos when I arrived. Guests milled around nervously as my staff efficiently directed them towards safer areas. My family huddled near the check-in desk, Mom trying to take charge as usual. We need to leave immediately, she was telling Sophie. Get our things and nobody's leaving, I announced, striding up. The roads are already flooding. Everyone's moving to the inland building until the storm passes. You can't keep us here, Mom started. Actually, I can, and I will. This is a mandatory evacuation order for all beachfront buildings. I turned to address the crowd. Everyone, please remain calm. Our inland facility is built to withstand Category 5 hurricanes. You'll all be safe and comfortable there. She's right. Connor appeared, tablet in hand. I checked the building specs. It's one of the most secure structures in the Pacific. Mom opened her mouth to argue, but Uncle Barry cut her off. Leah, let her do her job. Her job? Mom scoffed. This is just another power play. A massive thunderclap shook the windows, making several people scream. The lights flickered. Mom, I said firmly, for once in your life, please just listen to me. Something in my voice must have reached her because she fell silent. Walker, I called out, start the evacuation protocol. VIP guests to the 3rd floor, standard rooms on 1 and 2. Full storm procedures in effect. As my staff efficiently began moving people, Tessa appeared at my elbow. What can I do to help? I looked at her in surprise. You want to help? I owe you 16 years of support. Might as well start now. For the next hour, we worked together, directing guests, distributing emergency supplies, setting up comfort stations. Tessa proved surprisingly capable, anticipating needs before they arose. Even Mom eventually stopped trying to take control and started helping distribute blankets. By midnight, everyone was safely installed in the inland building. The storm raged outside, but inside, an unexpected calm had settled over the evacuees. Families played board games in the lounges, kids built blanket forts, and my staff served hot chocolate and cookies. I found Tessa in one of the quiet corners, still clutching that photo album. You know what I realized? She said as I sat down. In all these photos, everyone's smiling, but they're not really happy. They're just pretending everything's perfect. That's what our family does best. Not anymore. She pulled out her phone, opened the camera, and scooted closer to me. Time for a new album. One with real smiles. As the flash went off, capturing our first photo together in 16 years, I heard Mom's voice behind us. Room for one more? The storm outside grew stronger, but somehow the thunder didn't seem quite so threatening anymore. The storm trapped us in the inland building for 2 days. By hour 36, with wind still howling outside, we'd run out of small talk and forced politeness. That's when the real storm hit. Inside. I still don't understand, Mom said, pacing our makeshift command center in the building's conference room. Why didn't you just tell us about the resort? Would you have believed me? I looked up from the weather reports. Or would you have assumed I was lying to get attention? That's not fair, isn't it? I turned to face her. When I told you about my business plan, you said I was being unrealistic. When I got my first investor, you told relatives I was playing entrepreneur. I was trying to protect you. From what? Success? Sophie, who'd been quietly helping sort emergency supplies, spoke up. From failing. Right, Mom? That's what this was always about. Mom sank into a chair. I didn't want you to get hurt. So you heard her first, Tessa said from the doorway. She'd been helping distribute snacks to guests. Real solid logic there, Aunt Leah. Tessa, Uncle Barry warned. No, she's right. Mom's voice cracked. I was terrified. The room fell silent except for the storm's rage outside. Terrified of what? I asked. Of you. She met my eyes. You were so bright, so determined, just like your father before he left us for his big dreams and never came back. I couldn't watch you make the same mistakes. So you made them for me? The bitterness in my voice surprised even me. Mom, Sophie interrupted, did you ever think that maybe Dad left because you tried to clip his wings too? I didn't, Mom started, but Connor chose that moment to burst in. Sorry to interrupt, he said, but we've got water seeping into the ground floor east wing. I switched immediately to crisis mode. Walker, get maintenance down there. Sophie, we need more towels. Tessa, already on it. Tessa grabbed emergency supplies. I'll start moving people up to higher floors. I'll help. Mom stood up. No. I held up my hand. You and I need to finish this conversation. Everyone else, go. As they filed out, Mom and I faced each other across the conference table. Outside, lightning flashed. You want to know why I didn't tell you about the resort? I said. Because I needed to prove something to myself, not you. Every time you excluded me, every time you chose perfect family photos over your actual family, I built something stronger inside myself. I never meant to. Yes, you did. You meant to control me, to force me into your perfect family mold. But here's what you didn't expect. It worked, just not the way you planned. What do you mean? Every rejection made me more determined. Every missed vacation gave me more time to work on my dreams. You tried to clip my wings, but instead you taught me to fly through storms. Mom's eyes filled with tears. I was wrong. What? I was wrong, she repeated louder. About everything. About you. About what you could become. She gestured around us. Look at what you've built. Look at how you're handling this crisis. You're not just successful, you're extraordinary. I gripped the back of a chair, steadying myself. Don't try to make this better with a few nice words. I'm not. She stepped closer. I'm trying to admit that my biggest failure wasn't in raising a rebellious daughter. It was in not seeing that my daughter's rebellion was actually her strength. Another crack of thunder, closer this time. We should check on the guests, I said, turning away. Felicity, wait. Mom grabbed my arm. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm so proud of you. Even if you never believe another word I say, please believe that. Before I could respond, Tessa burst back in. Guys, everyone's gathering in the main hall. They're scared about the storm, and they're looking for the owner to say something reassuring. I wiped my eyes quickly. Right. Yes, of course. As I headed for the door, Mom called out, Show them who you are, sweetheart. Show them what I was too blind to see. I paused in the doorway, looking back at her. Want to come watch? She smiled through her tears. I've missed enough of your moments. I'm not missing this one. Together, we walked toward the main hall, where my family, both old and new, waited to see how I'd weather this storm. And for the first time in 16 years, I felt ready to face it with them by my side. The morning after the storm broke, I stood on the resort's main deck, surveying the damage. Palm trees were scattered like pickup sticks, and the beach had transformed into a new landscape, but the buildings stood strong, just like me. Impressive construction, Connor said, joining me at the railing. Both the buildings and the bridges you've built these past few days. That was terrible, I laughed. Do you practice those lines? Only the good ones, he smiled. Your mother's looking for you, by the way. Something about breakfast? I checked my watch. Right? The birthday breakfast we'd rescheduled after the storm disrupted our dinner plans. Want to join us? Actually, I should head out. My flight's in a few hours. Already? The storm extended my stay longer than planned. He hesitated, though I wouldn't mind coming back, if the owner approves. Before I could respond, Walker appeared with a tablet. Damage reports ready. Also, your family's gathered in the private dining room. Thanks. I turned back to Connor. The owner definitely approves. In the dining room, I found a scene I never expected. Mom arranging flowers, while Tessa helped Sophie set up a breakfast buffet. Uncle Barry was attempting to fix a twisted banner that read, Happy Birthday. Need help? I asked. We've got it, Tessa said. Though fair warning, I made the coffee and I have no idea what I'm doing. I brought backup. Walker appeared with the resort's barista and a professional coffee service. Always prepared, Mom smiled. Just like you. As we settled around the table, The morning sun streaming through windows that had weathered yesterday's storm, Sophie raised her glass. A toast? Actually, I said, I have something to say first. I pulled out an envelope. Mom, this was supposed to be part of my big revenge reveal at your birthday dinner, but, well, plans change. She opened the envelope slowly, pulling out a deed. What is this? A vacation villa, here at the resort. It's yours. Felicity, I can't. You can. And before you protest, it's not just for you, it's for all of us. I looked around the table. No more exclusive family vacations. No more choosing who's worthy of being included. This place is big enough for all our differences. Even mine, Tessa grinned, because I was thinking of doing my fashion internship somewhere tropical next summer. Don't push it, I laughed, but we both knew I meant yes. Speaking of pushing things, Sophie said, sliding a folder across the table, I have something for you too. Inside was a business proposal. Resort-based wedding planning services? I've been thinking, she said. My event planning business in the city is doing well, but maybe it's time for an expansion. If you're interested in a partnership? Partners, I tested the word. I like it. Me too, Mom said quietly. Though I hope there's room for one more partner. I may be retired, but I do have 30 years of hospitality experience. I met her eyes across the table. We'll start small, maybe consulting on the holiday programs. She nodded, understanding the olive branch for what it was. Well, Uncle Barry stood up, since we're all sharing news, Tessa, should you tell them? Or should I? Tessa bounced in her seat. We're moving. Dad's opening a new office here on the island. Really? Mom looked surprised. Really? He confirmed. After seeing what Felicity built here, well, let's just say it inspired some changes. Walker cleared his throat from the doorway. Sorry to interrupt, but the contractors are here to assess the storm damage. Go, Mom waved me off. We'll handle cleanup here. You sure? Positive. She stood up, straightening her shirt. Though I might stop by later to see how the repairs are going. If that's okay? More than okay. I headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and Mom? Happy birthday. Thank you, sweetheart. She smiled. Though I think you're the one who got the best gift. Your family back. No, I corrected her. We all got something better. A fresh start. As I walked through my storm-battered but standing resort, I heard laughter from the dining room behind me. Not the forced, photo-perfect laughter from those old vacation albums, but real, messy, imperfect joy. The kind that weather any storm. The kind worth waiting 16 years for. The kind that feels like home. I pulled out my phone and texted Connor. About that return visit, how does next month sound? His reply came instantly. Perfect. I hear the owner runs a pretty good resort. I smiled, looking back at my family through the dining room windows. She's learning, I typed back. She's finally learning.
The rain hammered against the windows like it was trying to warn me of something. I'd been at the gallery late, finalizing details for my upcoming exhibition, completely lost in the familiar comfort of work. Now, standing in the entryway of my own home, something felt wrong. I noticed them immediately. A pair of heels I didn't recognize, carelessly kicked off by the staircase. Small, expensive, not mine. My stomach twisted as I set my portfolio down, trying to rationalize what I was seeing. A friend visiting Stephen? At 11 p.m. on a Tuesday? Stephen? I called out, my voice sounding foreign to my own ears. Silence answered me, but not complete silence. There was a muffled sound coming from upstairs. Our bedroom. I should have turned around, should have walked back out into the rain, called someone, gone anywhere else. Instead, I moved toward the stairs, each step heavier than the last. The rational part of my brain was already piecing it together, but some deeper part of me needed to see it, needed the wound to be real before I could believe it. 3 months ago, Stephen had surprised me with a weekend getaway for our 5th anniversary. To the woman who makes every day an adventure, he'd said, sliding a delicate bracelet onto my wrist. I twisted it now as I climbed the stairs, the metal suddenly cold against my skin. Our bedroom door wasn't fully closed. A sliver of light spilled into the hallway, along with sounds I wouldn't mistake. I pushed the door open. Time fractured. I registered details in disjointed flashes, tangled sheets, discarded clothes, my husband's back, and beneath him, Hannah, my best friend since college, the person who'd helped me pick out my wedding dress. They didn't notice me immediately. I stood there, rain still dripping from my coat onto the hardwood floor. When they finally saw me, the moment stretched like pulled taffy. Hannah's eyes widened first, her hand flying to cover her mouth. Stephen scrambled backward, grabbing at sheets. "Allison!" His voice cracked. "This isn't— Don't!" The word came out surprisingly steady. "Don't insult me by saying it isn't what it looks like." Hannah was crying now, tears streaming down her flushed face. "Allie, please!" "How long?" I asked, my voice hollow. Stephen looked at Hannah, a glance that told me everything. This wasn't the first time. This was established. Routine. 6 months, he finally said. 6 months. Half a year of lies. Of working late and meeting clients. Of Hannah coming over for wine nights, asking about my marriage, listening to my hopes and insecurities while sleeping with my husband. "Allie, we never meant to hurt you," Hannah said, clutching the sheet to her chest. "It just happened." I laughed, the sound sharp and unfamiliar. "Things don't just happen for half a year, Hannah." Stephen stood, wrapping the sheet around his waist. "We need to talk about this. Calmly." "Calmly?" I repeated. "You want me to be calm right now?" My eyes caught something on the nightstand. My nightstand. A bottle of the massage oil Stephen had given me for my birthday 2 months ago. They'd been using my things, in my bed. The bed I'd picked out, arguing with Stephen for weeks about memory foam versus springs. A strange clarity washed over me. I wasn't crying. I wasn't screaming. I was just observing, like I was outside my body, watching someone else's life implode. "I'll go," Hannah whispered, clutching her clothes to her chest. "No," I said. "The bed is yours now, both of you." I turned and walked out, ignoring their calls. In the hallway, I paused at the small decorative table where we kept our spare keys and mail. Behind the ceramic bowl was the tiny camera I'd installed last week when I first noticed Hannah's perfume on our sheets. I'd told myself I was being paranoid. Told myself the late nights and changed passwords and sudden gym memberships had innocent explanations. I slipped the memory card from the camera into my pocket. 3 hours of footage that would confirm what I already knew. This wasn't a mistake or a one-time thing. This was calculated. This was betrayal with eyes wide open. Outside, the rain had stopped, but I was already soaked through. I sat in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel, not yet turning the key. Through the windshield, I could see our bedroom lights still on, their shadows moving behind the curtains. 5 years of marriage, 15 years of friendship, all of it meaningless. My phone lit up with Stephen's face. I declined the call and opened my messages instead. Maria, my gallery curator, had texted, "The space is yours whenever you need it, no questions asked." I started the car. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew what I was leaving behind. And I knew, with sudden, terrifying certainty, that I wouldn't be the only one destroyed by this night. I spent the night at Maria's loft above the gallery, curled on her leather couch, staring at the exposed brick wall until dawn broke. She didn't ask questions, just handed me a glass of bourbon and a blanket. That's why I'd gone to her, instead of anyone else. Maria understood the value of silence. Morning light streamed through the industrial windows as I sat cross-legged on the floor, my laptop open to the video I couldn't stop watching. The third replay wasn't any easier than the first. "You should delete that," Maria said, setting a mug of coffee beside me. "Watching it is just self-torture." "It's evidence," I replied, not looking up. On screen, Hannah laughed at something Stephen said, her hand trailing down his chest with practiced familiarity. They moved together with the ease of lovers who knew each other's bodies well. 6 months, maybe longer. Evidence for what? Maria asked, her voice gentle but firm. Divorce doesn't require proof of infidelity anymore, Allison. I closed the laptop. It's not about the divorce. Maria studied me, her dark eyes narrowing slightly. At 45, she'd navigated her share of personal disasters, which made her neither easily shocked nor easily fooled. Be careful, she finally said. Revenge feels good in theory. This isn't about revenge. The lie tasted metallic. I just need to understand what happened. My phone buzzed for the 20th time since morning. Stephen again. I silenced it without looking at the message. Your exhibition opens in 3 weeks, Maria reminded me. If you need to postpone. No! The word came out sharper than I intended. The show goes on. I need the work now more than ever. My exhibition, Fractured Intimacies, had been in development for over a year. The irony wasn't lost on me that I'd been creating art about the hidden cracks in personal relationships while my own was splintering without my knowledge. I showered and borrowed clothes from Maria, grateful they fit despite our different builds. By noon, I felt human enough to check my messages. 14 texts from Stephen, all variations of, "We need to talk," and "Please come home." 5 from Hannah, each more desperate than the last. The final one made my stomach turn. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. We were going to tell you together. Please let me explain. They were going to tell me? As if that somehow made their betrayal more palatable? I deleted all their messages and blocked both numbers. My studio was a 15-minute walk from the gallery. I needed the physical space, somewhere that had never been contaminated by either of them. The familiar smell of paint and turpentine hit me as I unlocked the door, and for the first time since last night, I took a full breath. I stood before my half-finished canvas, a large-scale piece depicting intertwined figures, partially obscured by layers of translucent color. I'd been stuck on it for weeks. Now I knew why. My subconscious had been processing what my conscious mind refused to see. I grabbed a wide brush, dipped it in crimson, and slashed it across the canvas. That's one way to handle creative block. I whirled around. Tyrese stood in the doorway, a coffee carrier in one hand. A fellow artist with studio space down the hall. He'd become a friend over the past year, though I'd kept him at the careful distance I maintained with most people. Sorry, he said, stepping inside. Door was ajar, brought caffeine as a peace offering. I accepted the cup, grateful for the distraction. Thanks. That looks cathartic. He nodded toward my canvas. My husband is sleeping with my best friend, I said flatly. Has been for months. Tyrese didn't offer platitudes or awkward sympathy. He just nodded and said, That explains the murder scene you're creating? A laugh escaped me, sharp and unexpected. I'm considering actual murder as Plan B. What's Plan A? I stared at the ruined canvas. I haven't decided yet. My phone rang, an unknown number. I almost ignored it until I realized it might be Stephen or Hannah calling from another phone. I answered with a curt, Hello? Mrs. Webb, this is Janine from First National Bank. We've detected unusual activity on your joint accounts and credit cards. Multiple large withdrawals and transfers over the past 24 hours. The room tilted. How much? The checking account has been emptied. $42,000. And there's a pending wire transfer from your investment account for $175 is scheduled for tomorrow morning. I gripped the edge of my work table. Block everything, right now. After ending the call, I looked up to find Therese watching me with concern. They're taking my money, I said, my voice eerily calm. All of it. Your husband? Aunt and Hannah. The pieces clicked into place. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning to leave, together, with everything I have. I opened my laptop and logged into my email. There it was, a message from Stephen, sent at 3 a.m. We need to talk about separating our finances. This doesn't have to get ugly. Too late. Tyrese set his coffee down. What do you need? I looked up at him, something cold and determined settling in my chest. Do you still have that friend who works in cybersecurity? Allison, they're trying to destroy me, Tyrese, and they've been planning it for months. I pulled up the bank statement, showing withdrawal after withdrawal, each one a deliberate act of theft. I'm not going to let them. The grief that had numbed me since last night crystallized into something harder, sharper. I want everything they took from me, and then I want them to lose everything they have. The espresso machine hissed and sputtered, filling Tyrese's kitchen with the rich aroma of coffee. 3 days had passed since I discovered Stephen and Hannah's betrayal, and I hadn't slept more than a few hours at a stretch. My body felt wired, running on caffeine and rage. "You look like hell," Tyrese said, sliding a mug across the counter. "Thanks. I'm going for a specific aesthetic." I took a sip, letting the bitter heat ground me. "Did your friend call?" Tyrese nodded. "Javier can meet us this afternoon. But Allison, are you sure about this? Once we cross certain lines." "They crossed the line first." I pulled out my phone and showed him the latest email from the bank. They managed to transfer $30,000 before I froze everything. My lawyer says it could take months to recover. And your lawyer also said to document everything and let the courts handle it. I know. I set my mug down harder than necessary. But the courts won't get back the years I wasted. They won't erase the humiliation. Tyrese studied me, concern etched across his features. We'd grown closer over the past few days, my temporary residence on his couch, creating an unexpected intimacy. He'd seen me at my lowest, sobbing in the shower at 3 a.m., throwing a wine glass against the wall, when another of Hannah's messages came through. "I'm not talking about breaking laws," I clarified. "I just want information. Knowledge is power, right?" "Right," he said, not sounding convinced. "And after we get this information?" I didn't answer. I wasn't ready to say out loud what I was planning. Javier's office was in a converted warehouse downtown, the kind of place that screamed tech startup with its exposed ductwork and standing desks. He greeted Tyrese with a fist bump before turning to me with a sympathetic smile. "Tyrese filled me in on the basics," he said, gesturing for us to sit. "Cheating husband, backstabbing friend, financial fuckery, the unholy trinity." "That about covers it," I said. "What exactly are you hoping to accomplish here?" Javier asked, fingers already dancing across his keyboard. "I need to know what they're planning. They've been coordinating for months. There must be emails, messages, something that shows the full extent." Javier nodded. "Accessing private communications is legally questionable, but—" He held up a hand when I started to protest. "There are ways to recover data from accounts you legitimately have access to. Joint cloud storage, shared devices, that sort of thing." I thought about the iPad Stephen and I both used, the cloud storage where we kept family photos and documents. "We have several shared accounts." "Start there," Javier suggested. "You'd be surprised what people forget to delete." For the next hour, we combed through digital breadcrumbs. Most revealed nothing beyond the mundane details of daily life. Then I found it, a folder buried in our cloud storage titled Property Documents. "This is new," I said, clicking it open. Inside were photos of a beachfront property in Costa Rica, along with mortgage pre-approval paperwork dated 3 months ago. Both Stephen and Hannah's names were on the documents. "They were buying a house together," I whispered, "in another country." Javier whistled low. "That's not just an affair, that's an exit strategy." My hands shook as I scrolled through more files, visa applications, information on Costa Rica's residency requirements, a spreadsheet detailing the liquidation of assets. My assets. "There's more," Javier said, pointing to a subfolder labeled A-Day. Inside was a detailed timeline spanning 6 months. The final entry read, A-Day, May 15th. Exhibition opening. Confrontation. Financial transfers complete. May 15th. My exhibition opening. They had planned to blindside me on the most important night of my career, when I'd be surrounded by critics, collectors, and peers. They were going to humiliate me publicly, I said, my voice hollow, then disappear with my money while I was dealing with the fallout. Tyrese put his hand on my shoulder. "At least now you know." "Knowledge is power," Javier echoed my earlier words. Question is, what are you going to do with it? Back at Tyrese's apartment, I sat cross-legged on the couch, staring at the copies we'd made of everything we found. "You're quiet," Tyrese observed, handing me a glass of wine. "I'm thinking." I took a sip. "About what Maria said regarding my exhibition. That you should postpone? That the show goes on." I set the glass down. "But with modifications." Tyrese raised an eyebrow. "What kind of modifications?" Art is about truth, right? About revealing what's hidden?" I pulled out my sketchbook. "My exhibition is called Fractured Intimacies. It's already about the secrets people keep from those closest to them." Understanding dawned on Tyrese's face. "You're going to use your show." "They wanted to destroy me on opening night." I began sketching rapidly, ideas flowing faster than I could capture them. "Instead, I'll be ready for them." "That's still 6 weeks away," Tyrese pointed out. "What about until then?" My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Steven again, using a friend's phone. Please come home. We need to talk. I can explain everything." I showed Tyrese the message. "Until then, I play along. I let them think I'm devastated but manageable. Just another heartbroken wife they can manipulate." "Are you sure you can do that? Face them and pretend?" The question hit a nerve. Could I look into the eyes of the two people who had systematically betrayed me and not reveal what I knew? The thought made my stomach turn. "I have to," I said, more to convince myself than him. Their plan only works if I react exactly how they expect me to. So I'll give them what they want. A wounded, emotional target, while I prepare something they'll never see coming. Tyrese studied me for a long moment. "You know, when we first met, I thought you were this reserved, cautious person. I'm starting to think that was just another canvas you were hiding behind." I looked down at my sketch, a gallery installation taking shape, one that would expose every lie, every betrayal, every secret plan. "Maybe we're all hiding something. The difference is, I'm about to put it all on display." I stared at my reflection in the cracked bathroom mirror of my studio. The fissure ran diagonally across the glass, splitting my face into mismatched halves. Fitting. I barely recognized myself anymore. "You can still back out," I whispered to my reflection. In an hour, I'd be sitting across from Steven at the upscale restaurant he'd suggested for our talk. After a week of dodging his calls, I'd finally agreed to meet. Part of my plan, I told myself. Reconnaissance. My phone buzzed with a text from Therese. "Remember, information gathering only. Don't show your hand." I applied another coat of mascara, deliberately making myself look more put together than I felt. Steven always underestimated me when I looked polished, as if external composure meant internal weakness. Tonight, I'd use that assumption against him. The restaurant was Steven's kind of place, expensive enough to impress, with lighting dim enough to hide sins. He stood when he saw me, his face a careful mask of contrition. I'd seen that expression before, after smaller betrayals. Forgotten anniversaries, canceled plans, harmless flirtations. Never had it covered something of this magnitude. "Allison," he said, reaching for my hands across the table. I let him take them, fighting the urge to recoil. "Thank you for coming. You didn't leave me much choice." I kept my voice neutral. 27 calls and texts tends to wear a person down. He winced. "I know I've been pushy. I needed to explain." "Explain what, exactly? The affair or the money you stole?" "It wasn't stealing," he said quickly. "Those are our joint accounts." "Were our joint accounts. Everything's frozen now." Anger flashed across his face before he controlled it. "That's extreme, don't you think? We should be able to discuss this like adults." Like the adults who were planning to empty my accounts on the night of my exhibition? I hadn't meant to reveal I knew about their timeline. A tactical error. Steven's eyes narrowed slightly. "Who have you been talking to?" "The bank, Steven. They called me about unusual activity." I took a sip of water, buying time to recalibrate. Where's Hannah tonight? I'm surprised you two aren't joined at the hip. This isn't about Hannah. Isn't it? You've been sleeping with my best friend for months, planning a future with her. That makes it very much about Hannah. The waiter approached, and Stephen ordered wine without consulting me, always making decisions on my behalf. I used to find it charming. Now I recognized it as control. I never meant to hurt you, he said after the waiter left. Things with Hannah, they just happened. Things don't just happen for 6 months, Stephen. They're planned, maintained, chosen repeatedly. He leaned forward, voice dropping. Our marriage was already in trouble, Allison. You know that. All those late nights at your studio, the emotional distance. You checked out long before Hannah entered the picture. The familiar tactic, shifting blame, rewriting history. I'd expected it, but it still stung. So your solution was to sleep with my best friend rather than talk to me? I kept my voice steady. To plan a secret escape to Costa Rica with my money? His eyes widened fractionally. Confirmation. I don't know what you think you know, he said carefully, but I'm trying to be fair here. Half the assets are mine. Half of what we built together is yours, I corrected. Not half of my inheritance or the proceeds from my art sales before we were married, which is what you were transferring. The wine arrived. Stephen took a long sip, recalculating. I made a mistake, he finally said. A terrible mistake. But I still care about you, Allison. I want to make this as painless as possible. By taking everything I have, by humiliating me on the most important night of my career. That's not... He stopped, realizing he'd walked into a trap. What do you want, Allison? A divorce, a fair division of assets, and for you and Hannah to disappear from my life. He studied me, suspicious of my apparent reasonableness. Just like that? Just like that? I forced a sad smile. What's the alternative? Fighting to save a marriage that was built on lies? Relief washed over his face. He thought I was surrendering, taking the path of least resistance. I'll have my lawyer draw up an agreement. Something fair. I'm sure your definition of fair and mine will differ significantly. As we finished our meals in tense silence, a woman approached our table. Layla, a fellow artist I knew peripherally from gallery events. Allison, I thought that was you. She glanced between us, sensing the tension. Sorry to interrupt your dinner. It's fine, I said, grateful for the distraction. Stephen, this is Layla. She's exhibiting at the Westmore Gallery next month. Stephen's smile didn't reach his eyes. Lovely to meet you. Actually, we've met before, Layla said. At the benefit for the Children's Hospital last year. You were quite memorable. Something in her tone made me look closer. The way she was looking at Stephen, a mixture of disdain and knowing, suggested there was history there. I should let you finish your dinner, she said, touching my shoulder. Call me sometime, Allison. I've been meaning to talk to you about a potential collaboration. After she left, Stephen drained his wine glass. Ready to go? Outside, the night air was cool against my flushed skin. Stephen tried to hail a cab for me, but I stepped back. I drove, I lied. I needed to be alone, to process. Allison, he called as I walked away. We're going to be okay, right? This can be civilized? I turned back, studying the man I'd once built my life around. Absolutely. I'm all about civility these days. Walking to the actual cab I'd booked around the corner, I texted Tyrese. Meeting done. He bought it. But there's something else. A woman named Layla. She knows something about Stephen that he doesn't want revealed. His response came quickly. Another piece of the puzzle. Time to find out what it is. I leaned back against the seat, the city lights blurring through the window. The plan was taking shape, but so was the realization that I was becoming someone I didn't recognize. Someone calculating, someone willing to deceive. The question wasn't whether I could go through with it anymore, but whether I'd recognize myself when it was over. The gallery hummed with activity as staff prepared for the upcoming exhibitions. I stood in the center of my designated space, surrounded by blank walls that would soon showcase my work, or rather, the revised version of my work. Maria circled the room, making notes on her tablet. "The truth is rarely pure and never simple," I murmured, recalling Oscar Wilde's words as I envisioned what would hang here in 3 weeks. "What was that?" Maria asked, looking up. "Just thinking about truth and art and how they intersect." She approached, her expression concerned. "You've been cryptic about these modifications to your exhibition. Care to elaborate?" I hesitated. Maria was more than my curator. She was my mentor, one of the few people I trusted implicitly. But involving her in my plan meant risking her professional reputation alongside mine. "I'm incorporating new elements," I said carefully. "More autobiographical than originally intended." Maria's eyes narrowed. "This is about Stephen and Hannah." "It's about betrayal, deception, the lies we tell those closest to us." I gestured to the empty walls. "Isn't that what Fractured Intimacies was always about? There's a difference between exploring universal themes and public revenge, Allison." "Who said anything about revenge?" Maria sighed. "You didn't have to. It's written all over you, in the way you move, speak, even the clothes you're wearing." I glanced down at my outfit. Black jeans, fitted blazer, boots with a purposeful heel. Armor, not fabric. "I'm not judging," she continued. "God knows they deserve whatever's coming. But I care about you, and I've seen what vengeance does to people. It changes them." "Maybe I need to change," I countered. "Maybe the woman who let herself be deceived for months needs an upgrade. Or maybe she needs to heal." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Layla, agreeing to meet for coffee. I'd reached out after our encounter at the restaurant, curious about her history with Stephen. "I have to go," I told Maria. "Meeting someone who might have information." Maria caught my arm as I turned to leave. "Just remember, whatever you put on these walls becomes part of your artistic legacy. Make sure it's something you can live with long after Stephen and Hannah are footnotes in your life." Her words followed me out of the gallery, unwelcome companions to my determination. The coffee shop was tucked away on a side street, the kind of place that attracted artists and writers seeking both caffeine and anonymity. Layla waved from a corner table, her vibrant scarf a splash of color in the muted space. "I was surprised to hear from you," she said as I sat down, "especially after that awkward dinner interruption." "Nah, actually, that's why I wanted to talk." I wrapped my hands around my mug, anchoring myself. "You seem to know Stephen, beyond a casual introduction." Layla's expression shifted, caution replacing warmth. "We've met. There was something in the way you looked at him, like you knew something." She studied me for a long moment. "Why are you asking, Allison? What's really going on?" I hadn't planned to reveal much, but something in her directness compelled honesty. "Stephen and my best friend Hannah have been having an affair. They were planning to leave together, after emptying my accounts." Layla didn't look surprised. "And now you're what? Gathering ammunition?" "Information," I corrected. "I'm trying to understand the full picture." She laughed, a short, bitter sound. "The full picture is that your husband is a predator who targets women in vulnerable positions." My stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" 2 years ago, I was going through a divorce. Stephen was handling some legal work for the gallery where I was exhibiting. She twisted her ring, a nervous gesture. He was charming, attentive, made me feel seen during the worst period of my life. "You had an affair," I stated, the words flat. "I thought it was the beginning of something real. He talked about leaving his wife. You said you didn't understand him." She met my eyes directly. "Then I discovered he was doing the same thing with another artist, and probably others." The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I tried. I came to one of your openings last year, but he intercepted me, threatened to ruin my career if I spoke to you." She shook her head. "The art world is small, and he has connections. I couldn't risk it." I thought about the timeline I discovered, the meticulous planning. This is a pattern for him. It's more than a pattern. It's a strategy. He finds women at transition points in their lives and exploits their vulnerability. Layla leaned forward. Hannah isn't the first. She won't be the last. Unless someone stops him. Something in my tone made Layla study me more carefully. What are you planning, Allison? An exhibition, I said simply. About truth. She hesitated, then pulled out her phone. I have something you should see. Emails, messages. I kept everything. Why would you show me this now? Because I recognized that look in your eyes at the restaurant. I've worn it myself. She slid her phone across the table. Just be careful. Men like Steven don't lose gracefully. Tyrese's apartment was empty when I returned, my mind reeling from what Layla had shared. I spread my sketches across his coffee table, adding new elements based on this fresh information. The exhibition was evolving into something more complex, more damning than I'd initially planned. My phone rang. Hannah. After 2 weeks of ignored calls, I answered. Allison, please don't hang up, she rushed. I know you met with Steven. He said you're being reasonable about everything. Did he? I kept my voice neutral, remembering my role, the wounded but manageable ex. I never wanted to hurt you, her voice cracked. You have to believe that. What did you want, Hannah? My husband? My money? My life? It wasn't like that. We fell in love. While planning to steal from me, I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. That's not love, that's conspiracy. Silence stretched between us. Steven said you agreed to a civilized divorce. I did, but civilized doesn't mean I'll let you take what's mine. The exhibition, she said suddenly. You're still going forward with it? The question confirmed my suspicions. They were still planning something for opening night. Of course. Why wouldn't I? No reason. I just thought, with everything happening, you might postpone. Art doesn't wait for convenient timing, Hannah. I infused my voice with false vulnerability. Actually, the work has been therapeutic, helping me process everything. I heard the front door open, Tyrese returning. I have to go. Allison, wait. I ended the call as Tyrese entered, his expression grave. What's wrong? I asked. I did some digging into Steven's recent activities, he said, setting his laptop on the table. He's accelerated the timeline. The Costa Rica property closes next week, not next month. They're moving up their plans, I realized. But why? There's more. He opened his computer, showing me a legal document. He's filed for an emergency hearing to unfreeze the accounts. Claims you're being vindictive and irrational. Cold fury washed over me. They're not waiting for the exhibition. They're going to try to clean me out before then. What do we do? I looked at my sketches, at the exhibition plans that suddenly seemed too slow, too measured for what we were facing. We move faster, I said, reaching for my phone. And we hit harder. The dim light of Tyrese's basement cast long shadows as I spread the evidence across the concrete floor. Printed emails, bank statements, photos, and testimonials from Layla and 2 other women Steven had manipulated. All pieces of the puzzle I was assembling. In the corner, a projector displayed images on a makeshift screen, cycling through the visual components of what would become my exhibition. This is getting intense, Tyrese said, handing me a coffee. Are you sure about all this? I gestured to the court documents we'd received that morning. The hearing is in 3 days. If the judge rules in Steven's favor, he'll drain every account before I can blink. Your lawyer thinks... My lawyer thinks there's a 50-50 chance the judge sides with him. I rubbed my temples, fighting a headache. Steven is very convincing. You've seen how he operates. The projector flashed to an image of Steven and Hannah at a restaurant, his hand possessively on her thigh. One of many surveillance photos Javier had helped us obtain. Legally, he insisted, since they were taken in public places. Even if we stop him legally, they're still planning something for the exhibition. I pointed to the printout of text messages between them, discussing the opening night. They want to humiliate me professionally, make sure I'm too devastated to fight back while they disappear. Tyrese crouched beside me, studying the timeline I'd created. So we beat them to the punch. Use the exhibition to expose them first. Ain't exactly. I tapped a sketch of the gallery layout. But we need to accelerate everything. The original plan was too slow. What about Maria? Is she on board? I hesitated. She's concerned about the gallery's reputation, about turning an art exhibition into a public execution. She has a point, Tyrese said carefully. This goes beyond getting justice, Allison. This is about destroying them completely. They were going to destroy me, I countered, my voice rising. Take my money, my career, my dignity, everything. And now you're becoming just like them. The words hit like a physical blow. I stood, needing distance. I'm nothing like them. Aren't you? Surveillance, secret planning, calculated public humiliation? He gestured to the evidence surrounding us. The methods are different, but the intent feels familiar. So, I should just let them win? Roll over and play the victim? There's a middle ground between victim and vigilante. I turned away, staring at the projected images. Was he right? Had my pursuit of justice morphed into something darker? The woman I saw in the mirror lately was harder, colder, someone who calculated rather than felt. My phone rang, breaking the tension. Maria. Allison, where are you? Her voice was tight with urgency. At Tyrese's. Why? Stephen is here at the gallery, with a woman, not Hannah, someone from the Arts Commission. My stomach dropped. The Arts Commission controlled major funding for the gallery. What do they want? He's suggesting your exhibition might be problematic, hinting that the commission should reconsider the gallery's grant if we proceed. Maria lowered her voice. He knows, Allison. Someone tipped him off about your plans. The room seemed to tilt. I'll be right there. I ended the call, turning to Tyrese. Stephen's threatening the gallery's funding. He's trying to get my exhibition canceled. How would he know what you're planning? The question hung in the air, heavy with implication. Who could have told him? The circle of people who knew the details was small. Tyrese, Maria, Javier, Layla. I need to get to the gallery, now. I arrived to find Maria alone in her office, face drawn with tension. They just left, she said. It was worse than I thought. What happened? Stephen brought Diane Reeves from the Arts Commission, casually mentioned concerns about your increasingly erratic behavior following your separation. Maria's expression hardened. Suggested your exhibition might include defamatory content that could expose the gallery to legal liability. He's trying to shut me down. And it might work. Diane was receptive to his concerns. The gallery can't afford to lose commission funding, Allison. I paced the small office. So we modify the exhibition, make it less explicit. Or we postpone, Maria suggested. Give yourself time to fight the legal battle first. There isn't time. The hearing is in 3 days. If he unfreezes those accounts, then focus on that. Hire the best lawyer, gather your financial evidence. Maria grabbed my shoulders, forcing me to look at her. This vendetta is consuming you. I barely recognize you anymore. The same observation Tyrese had made. Was I really changing that fundamentally? I can't let them win, I whispered. Winning what? At what cost? Maria released me, sighing. The board is meeting tomorrow to discuss the situation. I've defended you, but I'm not sure it's enough. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We should talk. I know what Stephen is planning. Meet me at Riverside Park, North Entrance, 7 p.m. Come alone. L. Layla? But why the secrecy, the new number? I need to go, I told Maria. But this isn't over. Stephen doesn't get to dictate my art or my future. The park was quiet at dusk, most visitors heading home for dinner. I scanned the north entrance, looking for Layla's distinctive scarf or silhouette. Instead, I saw a man sitting on a bench, his back to me. As I approached, he turned. Not Layla. Stephen. Hello, Allison. His smile was cold, triumphant. I thought it was time we had a real conversation. My body tensed, fight or flight instincts firing. Where's Layla? Layla, I have no idea. He patted the bench beside him. But I do know you've been quite busy. Gathering evidence, planning your little exhibition of horrors. How did you? You're not the only one with resources. He leaned forward. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? That I'd let you destroy everything I've built? Everything you've stolen, you mean? His expression hardened. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to drop this crusade, cancel the exhibition, agree to my terms for the divorce. He held up his phone, showing me an email draft. Or I send this to every gallery owner and arts patron in the city. The email contained private details about my past, therapy sessions, medication for anxiety during college, a breakdown after my father's death, all framed to make me appear unstable and unreliable. How did you get this information? My voice shook despite my efforts to control it. Hannah had access to your personal email for years. You trusted her with everything, remember? His smile was almost pitying. So what's it going to be, Allison? Your revenge fantasy or your career? I stared at him. This man I'd once loved, now unrecognizable in his cruelty. In that moment, something inside me crystallized, not into the hardness I'd been cultivating, but into absolute clarity. You know what, Stephen? Send it. I stood, surprising both of us. Send all of it, because I'm done being afraid of you. His confidence faltered. You're bluffing. No, I'm choosing. And I choose truth. All of it, mine included. I started walking away, then turned back. See you at the hearing, and at the exhibition. It's going to be quite a show. The gallery lights felt too bright, too revealing as I stood in the center of my exhibition space. In 3 hours, these rooms would fill with critics, collectors, and curious art lovers. And Stephen and Hannah, who still believed they held all the cards. Final check, Maria said, tablet in hand. Are you absolutely certain about this? I surveyed the transformed space. What had begun as fractured intimacies was now the architecture of betrayal, a multimedia installation chronicling not just my personal story, but a pattern of predatory behavior spanning years. I'm certain, I said, though my heart hammered against my ribs. The hearing had gone in my favor, barely. Stephen's lawyer had painted me as emotionally unstable, but the financial evidence was irrefutable. The judge had maintained the freeze on our accounts pending a full divorce settlement. Stephen had left the courtroom barely containing his rage, Hannah trailing behind him like a shadow. The press release went out an hour ago, Maria continued. We've already had calls from 3 major art publications. I nodded, moving toward the central installation. A series of transparent screens hung from the ceiling, each displaying fragments of text messages, emails, and photographs. Visitors would walk through them, experiencing the gradual revelation of deception from multiple perspectives. Beyond that, video testimonials from Layla and the other women played on a loop, their stories eerily similar. Is the security team briefed? I asked. 2 at each entrance, plus plainclothes throughout the gallery. Maria squeezed my shoulder. I still think you should have told Stephen exactly what was coming. The element of surprise feels cruel, I supplied. Dangerous. Cornered animals lash out. I turned to face her. I gave him a chance to walk away. He chose this. The week since our confrontation in the park had been a blur of preparation. Stephen had followed through on his threat, sending his email about my mental health history to several gallery contacts. But instead of hiding, I'd incorporated it into the exhibition, a wall dedicated to the weaponization of vulnerability, featuring his email alongside my therapy journals. I should get ready, I said, checking the time. The preview for Select Press starts in an hour. Maria nodded. I'll do a final walkthrough with security. Alone in the small office I'd been using, I changed into the outfit I'd chosen carefully, a structured black dress that felt like armor, red heels that added height and confidence. As I applied lipstick, my hand trembled slightly. A text from Therese. Just arrived. Everything looks powerful. You ready for this? I wasn't sure how to answer. The woman in the mirror looked ready, composed, determined. But beneath the surface, doubt churned. Was this justice or vengeance? Art or attack? The line had blurred weeks ago. Another text. This one from Layla. Standing with you tonight. We all are. That steadied me. This wasn't just about my pain anymore. It was about breaking a pattern, exposing a predator who had hurt multiple women. Stephen's behavior with me wasn't an isolated incident. It was his modus operandi. I texted Tyrese back. Ready as I'll ever be. See you soon. The gallery hummed with voices and movement. The preview had gone well. Too well, perhaps. Word had spread quickly about the exhibition's controversial nature, drawing an even larger crowd than anticipated. I circulated through the rooms, watching reactions, answering questions from critics who alternated between admiration for my boldness and concern about the ethics of such public exposure. It's extraordinary, a collector told me, gesturing to the installation. Brutal, but necessary. I smiled, scanning the crowd for the faces I was waiting for. Stephen and Hannah hadn't arrived yet, but they would. The exhibition was too direct a challenge for them to ignore. Tyrese appeared at my side, handing me a glass of water. How are you holding up? Surprisingly calm, I admitted, like I'm watching someone else's life unfold. That's the adrenaline. The crash comes later. He nodded toward the entrance. Heads up, they're here. I turned to see Stephen and Hannah entering, his hand possessively at the small of her back. They paused just inside the doorway, taking in the title projected on the wall. The Architecture of Betrayal, a study in calculated deception. Stephen's expression shifted from curiosity to dawning comprehension as he registered the nature of the exhibition. Hannah paled, her eyes darting around the crowded space. Should we go over? Tyrese asked. No, I said. Let them come to me. I watched as they moved through the first installation, the transparent screens displaying their own words, their own plans. Stephen's pace quickened, his body language increasingly tense as he realized the extent of what I'd created. Hannah stopped completely at one point, staring at a screen showing her text messages to him about me. She suspects nothing, too wrapped up in her art to notice what's happening right under her nose. When they reached the video testimonials, Stephen grabbed Hannah's arm, clearly intending to leave. But it was too late. They'd been recognized. A critic I'd spoken with earlier approached them, recorder in hand. Mr. Webb, your wife's exhibition is quite revealing. Care to comment on the allegations made by these women? Stephen's face contorted with fury as he searched the room, finding me across the crowd. Our eyes locked. In that moment, I felt neither triumph nor satisfaction, only a strange, hollow relief. The truth was out. Whatever happened next, the lies were exposed. He started toward me, pushing through the crowd. Hannah remained frozen by the videos, tears streaming down her face as she watched Layla describe how Stephen had targeted her during her divorce. You had no right, Stephen hissed when he reached me, voice low but vibrating with rage. This is defamation. I'll sue you, the gallery, everyone involved. Everything here is documented, I replied calmly. Every text, every email, every bank transfer. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation, Stephen. You've destroyed my reputation. You did that yourself. I just created the exhibition. His eyes narrowed. This won't bring you peace, Allison. You've become exactly what you claim to hate. Manipulative, calculating, cruel. The words hit their mark, echoing my own doubts. Had I become like him in my pursuit of justice? Before I could respond, a flash of movement caught my attention. Hannah, rushing toward us, her composed facade completely shattered. How could you do this? She demanded, voice breaking. We were friends, best friends. That's exactly why I had to do it, I said, suddenly tired. Because friendship should mean something. Because trust matters. Around us, the crowd had grown silent, watching the drama unfold, the very public reckoning I'd orchestrated. You've ruined everything, Hannah whispered. No, I corrected her gently. I just revealed it. Stephen grabbed her arm. We're leaving. This pathetic spectacle isn't worth our time. As they turned to go, Maria stepped forward, blocking their path. Actually, there are some people who'd like to speak with you, Mr. Webb, She gestured to two men in suits standing by the entrance. Detectives investigating financial fraud. Something about wire transfers to Costa Rica? Stephen's face drained of color. The final piece of my exhibition, the one I hadn't displayed publicly. Financial records I'd provided to authorities, showing not just his attempt to steal from me, but similar patterns with other women, including Layla. As the detectives approached, the reality of what I'd done hit me fully. This wasn't just art. This wasn't just revenge. This was justice. Messy, imperfect, but real. I watched as Stephen was led away. Hannah left, standing alone in the center of my creation. In her face, I saw the same devastation I'd felt that rainy night when my world collapsed. The symmetry should have felt satisfying. Instead, I turned away, toward the future I would now create on my own terms. Morning light filtered through the gallery windows, illuminating the empty space where my exhibition had stood. 3 days had passed since the opening night, since Stephen had been led away by detectives, since Hannah had crumbled before my eyes. The installation had been scheduled to run for a month, but I'd made the decision to dismantle it early. "You're sure about this?" Maria asked, watching as I carefully removed the last of the transparent screens. "I've said what I needed to say," I replied, wrapping the delicate material in protective cloth. "Keeping it up feels like picking at a wound." The exhibition had become the talk of the art world overnight. Critics called it revolutionary, a searing indictment of betrayal, and uncomfortably voyeuristic. Attendance had broken gallery records. Collectors had offered obscene amounts for pieces of the installation. I'd turned them all down. "The art served its purpose," I explained to Maria as we boxed up the video equipment. "It was never meant to be permanent." "What will you do with it all?" I considered the question. "Archive most of it. Donate the proceeds from any sales to organizations supporting victims of financial abuse." Maria nodded, understanding what I wasn't saying. I needed to move on. The exhibition had been cathartic, necessary, but it wasn't the entirety of who I was or wanted to be. My phone buzzed with a text from Therese. "Coffee later?" "Have news about S." Stephen had been released on bail the day after the exhibition opened, facing charges of wire fraud and financial exploitation. His lawyer had immediately filed a countersuit against me for invasion of privacy and defamation. The legal battle ahead would be messy, prolonged. Strangely, I felt prepared for it. Not eager, not vengeful, just ready. "You have that look," Maria observed, interrupting my thoughts. "What look?" "The one you get when you're planning your next move." She smiled slightly. "It's good to see it again. For a while there, you were all reaction, no creation." Her words struck me. She was right. For weeks, I'd been responding to Stephen and Hannah's betrayal, defining myself in opposition to their actions, rather than by my own vision. "I'm thinking about a new series," I admitted. "Something about reconstruction. The architecture of rebuilding after destruction." I'd like to see that," Maria said. "When you're ready." As we finished packing, the gallery door opened. Hannah stood in the entrance, looking smaller than I remembered, her usual polished appearance dulled by exhaustion. Maria glanced between us. "I'll give you two a minute." When we were alone, Hannah approached cautiously, as if expecting me to lash out. "I heard you were taking down the exhibition." News travels fast. The art world runs on gossip. A ghost of her old smile flickered across her face. No one's talking about anything else. I continued wrapping a piece of equipment, not making it easy for her. "Why are you here, Hannah?" She took a deep breath. "To tell you Stephen lied about everything. Not just to you, to me too." She twisted her hands together. "He never intended to take me to Costa Rica. He'd already started seeing someone else. The property was in his name only." I paused, absorbing this. "So you were just another mark. Like all the others." Her voice cracked. "I deserved the public humiliation, but I needed you to know I've given a statement to the detectives. About the financial fraud, about everything." I studied her. This woman I'd once trusted with every secret, every insecurity. The betrayal still ached, but the white-hot rage had cooled into something more complex. "Why tell me this?" "Because you deserved better," she said simply. "From both of us. And because I thought, maybe someday." "We won't be friends again," I said, the words coming out gentler than I'd intended. "Some things can't be rebuilt." She nodded, eyes bright with tears. "I know. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. And that your art was brilliant, even when it was destroying me." After she left, I sat alone in the empty gallery space, surrounded by the boxed remains of my exhibition. My phone buzzed again. Tyrese, checking if I was still meeting him. I texted back. On my way. Outside, the spring air felt cleansing. I walked the 6 blocks to the coffee shop, using the time to process Hannah's revelation. Stephen had betrayed us both. Differently, but completely. The knowledge didn't erase what she'd done, but it shifted something inside me, loosening a knot I hadn't realized was still tight. Therese was waiting at an outdoor table, 2 coffees already in place. "You okay? You look intense." "Hannah came to see me," I said, sliding into the chair across from him. "Apparently Stephen was playing us both. Are you surprised?" "No," I admitted. I don't know, processing." "Well, this might help with the processing." He slid a folder across the table. "Javier found something interesting in Stephen's cloud storage. Turns out our boy has been running the same con for years. Different women, same pattern." I opened the folder to find financial records, emails, photos, evidence of at least 3 other relationships before Hannah, all following the same trajectory. "He's looking at serious prison time," Tyrese continued. "The DA is building a case for a pattern of financial exploitation." I closed the folder, suddenly weary of evidence and revelations. I don't want to be part of this anymore. "Part of what?" "The Stephen and Hannah show. The betrayed wife narrative." I pushed the folder back toward him. "I'm ready for a different story." Tyrese studied me for a moment. "What kind of story?" "I'm not sure yet, but I want to create it, not just react to what's been done to me." I took a sip of coffee, the warmth spreading through my chest. The exhibition was necessary. It was even healing in its way, but it was also a response to pain. And now I want to make art that comes from somewhere else, something that builds rather than exposes. Tyrese smiled, a genuine warmth in his eyes I'd come to value over these difficult weeks. "I'd like to see that." "You will," I promised. "I'm thinking about a collaborative project, actually. Something about unexpected connections." His eyebrows raised slightly. "Is that an invitation?" "It might be." I returned his smile, feeling a lightness I hadn't experienced in months. "I'm still figuring out the details." As we talked, sketching ideas on coffee shop napkins, I realized something fundamental had shifted. The woman who had discovered her husband's betrayal that rainy night felt like a different person, not because the pain had disappeared, but because it no longer defined me. Stephen and Hannah had tried to reduce me to a victim, a footnote in their story. My exhibition had reclaimed the narrative, forced them to become characters in mine. But neither version was complete. I was neither the trusting wife who had been deceived, nor the avenging artist who had exposed them. I was something more complex, more interesting, a woman in the process of creating herself. The napkin between us filled with sketches and notes, possibilities taking shape. Whatever came next, the legal battles, the professional fallout, the personal rebuilding, I would face it on my terms, with my vision leading the way. "You know what the best revenge is?" I asked Therese as we gathered our things to leave. "Living well?" he suggested with a smirk. "No," I said, feeling the truth of it settle into my bones. Creating something new that could never have existed without the breaking.
I should have known something was wrong when Mom called me sweetheart 3 times in one voicemail. My name is Elise, and I've been trying to earn my parents' love for 32 years. You'd think I'd have learned by now that when Beatrice Cox uses pet names, she wants something big. "Elise, sweetheart, we need you at the cabin this weekend. Family announcement. Nothing bad, just, well, you'll see." Love you, sweetheart. I played that message 5 times while sitting in my cramped studio apartment, staring at the stack of mortgage statements on my kitchen table. Every single one had my name on it. Elise Cox, sole borrower, sole owner of the most beautiful lakeside cabin in northern Michigan, the cabin I'd been paying for with blood, sweat, and 60-hour work weeks for the past 4 years. Ruby, you need to hear this. I called my best friend and hit speakerphone to replay Mom's message. Oh, hell no, Ruby said immediately. That's her manipulation voice. What did you do now? Nothing. I just finished the last payment on the cabin mortgage. I was going to surprise them this weekend. Elise. Ruby's voice went flat. Please tell me you didn't put that property in your parents' names. Of course not. I'm not stupid. I shuffled through the papers until I found the deed. It's mine. I bought it for them, for all of us. You know, family vacations, holidays, somewhere Dad can fish and Mom can host her book club retreats. Silence. Ruby? I'm trying to find a nice way to say this, but your family has been walking all over you since we were kids. Remember when your brother got your college fund because he needed it more? My stomach clenched. Harlan had been 23 then, fresh out of his second failed business venture. I was 18 and had just gotten into Northwestern on a partial scholarship. Mom had sat me down at the kitchen table with tears in her eyes. Elise, honey, you're so smart and capable. You'll find a way to pay for college, but Harlan, he's struggling. He needs this chance to get back on his feet. I'd worked 3 jobs to pay for school. Harlan had used the money to buy a motorcycle. That was different, I told Ruby, but my voice sounded hollow even to me. Was it? What about when they gave him your grandmother's ring because he needed it for his proposal? Or when they co-signed his mortgage but wouldn't help with your student loans? Each example hit like a physical blow. I'd rationalized every single one. Harlan was the oldest. Harlan had a family to support. Harlan was going through a rough patch. The cabin is different, I whispered. This is my gift to them, to show them that I can provide for the family too. Oh, sweetie. Ruby's voice was gentle now. You know I love you, right? But you can't buy their love. You've been trying for years. I hung up and spent the next hour staring at the deed, my name in black ink, my signature, my 4 years of sacrifice, skipping vacations, buying generic groceries, wearing the same 3 work outfits in rotation. But Ruby was wrong. This would be different. When I walked into that cabin and told them I owned it, that I'd bought it for our family, they'd finally see me, really see me. I packed my overnight bag with shaking hands, threw it in my 10-year-old Honda, and drove north toward the lake. The autumn trees blurred past my windows as I rehearsed what I'd say. Surprise, I bought us a family cabin. I know I'm not the successful one, not the one with the perfect family and the charming personality, but I did this. For us. The gravel driveway crunched under my tires as I pulled up to the cabin. It was even more beautiful than I remembered from the realtor photos. Weathered cedar siding, wraparound porch, windows that caught the late afternoon sun like mirrors. I grabbed my bag and walked up the front steps, fishing for my keys. But before I could unlock the door, it swung open. Aunt Elise? 9-year-old Willow launched herself at me, her dark curls bouncing. We've been waiting for you! My heart stopped. We? I looked over Willow's head into the cabin. Harlan was sprawled on the leather couch I'd picked out, beer in hand, watching football on the TV I'd had delivered. His wife Camilla emerged from the kitchen, my kitchen, wearing an apron I'd never seen before. Oh, good, you're here, Camilla said, not quite meeting my eyes. We were just getting dinner started. Where? My voice cracked. I cleared my throat and tried again. Where am I sleeping? Harlan looked up from the TV with that easy smile that had been charming people since we were kids. Well, that's part of the announcement. Mom and Dad will explain everything at dinner. I walked through the cabin in a daze. The master bedroom, my dream room with the lake view, was clearly occupied. Harlan's clothes hung in the closet. Camilla's makeup covered the dresser. Willow's stuffed animals were piled on the window seat. The second bedroom had been converted into an office. Dad's fishing gear filled the third bedroom. Where exactly am I supposed to sleep? I asked. Camilla appeared in the doorway, that same not quite smile on her face. Oh, didn't they tell you? There's a really cute little space out back. Very private. You'll love it. She led me to the window and pointed outside. The tool shed. She was pointing at the goddamn tool shed. Dinner was served on the dining table I'd spent 3 weekends shopping for. Mom had made her famous pot roast, the one she only made for special occasions. The good china was out. Candles flickered in the centerpieces I'd never seen before. Everyone was already seated when I walked in from inspecting my accommodations. The tool shed had a cot, a space heater, and exactly zero insulation. In October, in Michigan, there's our girl! Dad stood up and pulled out the chair at the far end of the table. Not the head, that was reserved for Harlan. The far end, where I could barely reach the serving dishes. This looks amazing, Mom. I sat down and tried to keep my voice steady. What's the special occasion? Mom beamed at me, her silver hair perfectly styled. She was wearing the pearl necklace Dad had given her for their anniversary, the one I'd helped him pick out and pay for. Well, we wanted to get the whole family together to share some wonderful news. She reached over and squeezed Harlan's hand. Tell her, honey. Harlan cleared his throat and put down his beer. So, you know how I've been between jobs lately. Between jobs. That was one way to put it. He'd been between jobs for 8 months. And with Willow starting 4th grade, we really needed to think about stability, good schools, a safe neighborhood. The schools here are excellent, Camilla chimed in, cutting Willow's meat. Much better than the city. I looked around the table. Everyone was smiling except me. I'm sorry, I'm not following. Are you moving up here? That's the beautiful part, Mom said, clasping her hands together. We've decided that Harlan and his family should live in the cabin full time. Isn't that wonderful? Willow can grow up on the lake just like you two did at our old house. The fork slipped from my hand and clattered against my plate. Live here? Full time? Now, before you get upset, Dad said, holding up his hand. We've thought this through very carefully. Harlan needs a fresh start, and this place is just sitting empty most of the year anyway. It's not sitting empty. I come up here every weekend. I was planning to spend more time here now that it's paid off. Silence fell over the table. Willow looked between the adults, sensing tension she didn't understand. Paid off? Harlan's eyebrows shot up. Mom, I thought you said the family was still making payments. Well, technically, Mom's smile flickered. Elise has been handling the financial side of things. But this is a family property, sweetheart. We all contribute in different ways. What ways? The question came out sharper than I intended. What exactly have you contributed? Elise? Dad's voice carried a warning. That's not the attitude we need right now. I'm just trying to understand. I've been paying the mortgage, the insurance, the property taxes, the utilities. I furnished this place. I had the dock repaired last spring. What am I missing? Camilla set down her wine glass. Well, Harlan has been doing maintenance work. What maintenance work? I fixed the loose board on the deck, Harlan said defensively. With my tools. That I bought after I called you 6 times asking you to fix it. Girls, girls. Mom's voice went syrupy sweet. This isn't about money. This is about family, about what's best for everyone. And what's best for me is sleeping in a tool shed. It's not a tool shed, Camilla said quickly. It's more like a guest cottage, very cozy. And you're only here on weekends anyway. I'm here every weekend because I've been working 60-hour weeks to pay for this place. Which we appreciate, Dad said, but Harlan has a family to think about. A child. Surely you can see that their needs come first. I stared at him. Their needs come first. You're young, you're single, you're flexible, Mom added. This is temporary, just until Harlan gets back on his feet. How temporary? Another silence. Harlan and Camilla exchanged a look. Well, Harlan said slowly, we were thinking maybe a year or 2, just to get established up here. A year or 2. Maybe longer if things work out well, Camilla said. We're thinking of expanding the deck, maybe adding a sunroom. Really make this place special. My hands were shaking. I set them flat on the table. With what money? Oh, we'll figure that out, Mom said airily. The important thing is that we're all together, one big happy family. I looked around the table again, at my parents, who'd never once asked if I could afford the mortgage payments, at my brother, who'd moved into my cabin without asking, at his wife, who was already planning renovations to my property. at my niece, innocently eating dinner off plates I'd bought. "This is really what you want?" I asked quietly. "It's what's best for the family," Dad said firmly. "And if I'm not comfortable with this arrangement?" Mom reached across the table and patted my hand. "Oh, sweetheart, you'll adjust. You always do. You're so good at making the best of things." I pulled my hand away and stood up. "I need some air." "Where are you going?" Mom called after me. "To check out my new accommodations." I walked outside and sat on the porch steps, looking out at the lake I'd dreamed of waking up to every morning. The water was dark now, reflecting the first stars. Behind me, I could hear them talking in low voices. Camilla's laugh, Harlan saying something about, "She'll come around." I pulled out my phone and scrolled to Ruby's number, but I didn't call. Not yet. Instead, I said very quietly to the lake, "Okay." I spent that night in the tool shed, listening to my family laugh and watch movies in my living room. The space heater barely worked, and every time someone flushed the toilet, the pipes rattled right above my head. At 6 a.m., I drove back to the city. My apartment felt different when I walked in. Smaller, sadder, like I was seeing it through their eyes, the eyes of people who thought I should be grateful for a tool shed. I made coffee and spread every document related to the cabin across my kitchen table: mortgage papers, insurance policies, property tax receipts, utility bills, bank statements showing 4 years of payments, all in my name, every single one. My phone buzzed. "Ruby, how did it go?" "They gave my cabin to Harlan." "They what?" "He's living there now, full time, with his family. I get the tool shed on weekends." Silence, then, "I'm coming over." Ruby arrived 20 minutes later with bagels and the kind of fury that made her a terrifying attorney. She took one look at the papers spread across my table and started photographing everything with her phone. "Show me the deed," she said. I handed it over. She studied it carefully, then looked up at me with steel in her eyes. "Elise, you own this property. Outright. They can't just decide who lives there." "But it's family." "No." She slammed the deed down on the table. "Family doesn't treat you like a bank account with legs. How much have you spent on this place?" I pulled out my calculator and started adding. Mortgage payments, down payment, closing costs, furniture, repairs, insurance, taxes. The number made me sick. $187,000, I whispered. "And how much have they contributed?" Harlan fixed a loose board. "With your tools?" "With my tools." Ruby sat back in her chair. "Do you have any documentation of them promising to pay you back? Any written agreements?" I laughed bitterly. They kept saying they'd make it up to me and that I'd be taken care of when they updated their will, but nothing in writing. "Of course not." Ruby pulled out her laptop. "Let me ask you something. If a stranger moved into your property without permission, what would you call that?" "Trespassing." "And if they refused to leave?" "Squatting." "Exactly." Her fingers flew across the keyboard. "The fact that they're related to you doesn't change the law. This is your property. You have rights." My phone started buzzing. Text messages. "Mom, hope you slept well, sweetheart. Harlan is going to look at schools for Willow today. So exciting." Harlan, "Thanks for being cool about this, sis. I owe you one." Camilla, "Do you know where you got those curtains in the master bedroom? I want to get matching ones for the other rooms." I showed the messages to Ruby. Her jaw tightened. "They're not even pretending this is temporary," she said. "Maybe I should just—" "No." Ruby grabbed my shoulders. "Listen to me. You have spent 4 years sacrificing everything for people who see you as a doormat. When is enough enough?" Before I could answer, my phone rang. Mom. "Hi, sweetheart. I hope you're not still upset about last night. I know change is hard, but Mom, I need to ask you something. Do you remember when you co-signed Harlan's mortgage?" "Well, yes, but that's different. He has a family." "And when you wouldn't co-sign my student loans?" Silence. "Or when you gave him my college fund?" "Elise, I don't like your tone. I'm just trying to understand why Harlan's needs always come first. Because he's struggling. You're strong. You're independent. You don't need us the way he does." "I don't need you?" "You know what I mean. You've always been so capable, so self-sufficient. Harlan needs more support." I looked at Ruby, who was shaking her head in disgust. Mom? Who's paying for the cabin? Well, you are, but who owns it? Technically you do, but Elise, this is about family, about doing what's right. What's right for who? For everyone. Harlan gets a fresh start, Willow gets to grow up somewhere beautiful, and you get to be the generous sister who made it all possible. And what do I get out of this arrangement? You get the satisfaction of helping your family. I hung up. Ruby was already pulling up legal forms on her laptop. I can have eviction papers drawn up by tomorrow. I can't evict my own family. Why not? They clearly have no problem evicting you from your own property. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a photo from Camilla. She was standing in my kitchen holding paint swatches. The caption read, "Thinking of repainting. What do you think of sage green?" I stared at the photo. At this woman planning to redecorate my house that I'd worked myself to exhaustion to buy. Ruby, I said quietly, show me those eviction papers. Ruby spread 3 different legal documents across my kitchen table like she was dealing cards. Option 1, formal eviction notice, 30 days to vacate. Clean, legal, no room for argument. That seems harsh. Option 2, demand letter for back rent. Calculate fair market value for the time they've been there, plus utilities, plus damages. Damages? Ruby pulled up rental listings on her phone. Lakefront properties like yours rent for $3,000 a month minimum. They've been there, 2 weeks? Plus, they're making modifications without your permission. She showed me Camilla's paint swatch photo. That's property damage. My hands were shaking. What's option 3? Both. Eviction notice and a bill for back rent, utilities, and damages, plus interest. I can't do this. They're my family. Ruby closed her laptop and looked at me hard. Elise, can I tell you something? When we were kids, you used to talk about having your own place someday. Remember? You'd draw pictures of your dream house, always by water, always with big windows and a porch. I remembered. I'd been 8, maybe 9, sketching houses in the margins of my homework. You said you wanted a place where you felt safe, where nobody could take anything away from you. Ruby gestured at the deed. You did it. You bought your dream house, and now they're taking it away from you anyway. But if I do this, they'll never forgive me. Have they ever asked for your forgiveness? For the college fund? For the grandmother's ring? For any of it? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Harlan. Hey sis, quick question. Do you know the Wi-Fi password here? Camilla's trying to set up her home office. Her what? Her home office. She's starting a consulting business. Figured she might as well work from paradise, right? He laughed. Also, do you have the number for that guy who services the dock? We want to get it winterized. Harlan, we need to talk. Sure, what's up? This arrangement isn't working for me. Silence, then. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not comfortable with you living in my house indefinitely. Your house? His voice changed. Elise, come on, this is a family property. No, it's not. It's my property. I have the deed. But Mom and Dad said, Mom and Dad don't own it. I do. I paid for it. Look, I get that you're upset about the sleeping arrangements. Maybe we can work something out. You could take the office, and I'll move my desk to the living room. That's not the point. Then what is the point? I looked at Ruby, who was nodding encouragingly. The point is that you moved into my house without asking me. You're making plans to renovate my property without my permission, and nobody seems to think I have any say in what happens to something I own. Jesus, Elise, when did you become so selfish? The word hit like a slap. Selfish? Yeah, selfish. I'm trying to provide for my family, and you're worried about property ownership. We're blood, Elise. This stuff shouldn't matter between us. Then why didn't you ask me first? Because I knew you'd say yes, you always do. You're the good sister, remember? Ruby was making frantic gestures, pointing at her laptop. I put the call on speaker. Harlan, I need you to understand something. I've been working 60-hour weeks for 4 years to pay for this place. I've sacrificed everything. Nobody asked you to do that. You're right, nobody asked. But I did it anyway because I thought it would bring our family together. Instead, you've decided I don't deserve to live in my own house. That's not what this is about. Then what is it about? It's about doing what's best for everyone. Willow needs stability. Camilla needs space for her business. I need a fresh start. And you? You're single. You don't have kids. You can live anywhere. So, my needs don't matter? Your needs are different. You don't have the same responsibilities we do. Ruby was frantically typing on her laptop. She turned the screen toward me. It was a formal eviction notice already filled out with my property address. Harlan, I'm going to ask you one more time. Will you consider finding your own place? Are you serious right now? You want me to uproot my family because you're having some kind of ownership crisis? I want you to respect that this is my property. Fine. You know what? Keep your precious property. But don't expect the family to forgive you for this. What's that supposed to mean? It means Mom and Dad are going to be devastated. It means Willow is going to ask why Aunt Elise doesn't love us anymore. It means you're choosing a house over your family. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, then at Ruby, who was already printing documents. He just threatened to turn the whole family against me. He was always going to do that. Ruby handed me a pen. The question is, are you going to let him? I looked at the eviction notice. Clean, official, terrifying. If I sign this, there's no going back. There was no going back the minute they moved into your house without asking. I picked up the pen. My hand was steady now. How long do I give them? 30 days is standard. Make it 60. I'm not a monster. I signed my name at the bottom. The good daughter was officially dead. Ruby hand-delivered the certified letter on a Tuesday morning. I was at work when she texted me a photo of Harlan signing for it, looking confused. The explosion started 20 minutes later. My phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Calls, texts, voicemails. I let them all go to voicemail and kept working, but my hands were shaking so badly I could barely type. At lunch, I finally listened to the messages. Mom, crying. Elise, honey, there must be some mistake. Ruby says you're evicting us? That can't be right. Call me back, sweetheart. We need to fix this. Dad, angry. What the hell is wrong with you? Your brother has a child, for Christ's sake. Call me back right now. Harlan, furious. You've lost your goddamn mind. 60 days? Are you serious? Where am I supposed to go with my family? You're destroying everything. Camilla, ice cold. I hope you're proud of yourself. Willow is crying because she doesn't understand why her aunt wants to kick her out, but I guess you don't care about that. 17 voicemails total. I deleted them all and went back to work. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Family group chat. Now. I opened the group message. It was chaos. Mom, I don't understand what's happening. Elise sent some kind of legal document? Dad, she's evicting us, her own family. Harlan, I tried to reason with her yesterday. She's completely unreasonable. Camilla, we should contest this. There has to be some kind of family exemption. Mom, Elise, please respond. We need to talk about this like adults. Dad, this is what happens when you spoil a child. She thinks she can throw tantrums and get her way. Harlan, I can't believe she's doing this over a property dispute. It's just a house. Camilla, maybe we should call her work, see if they know she's having some kind of breakdown. I screenshot that message and sent it to Ruby. Ruby called immediately. They're threatening to sabotage your job? Apparently. That's harassment. I can add it to the file. There's a file now? Oh, honey, there's definitely a file now. My phone kept buzzing. The group chat was getting uglier. Dad, 40 years I've been supporting this family, and this is the thanks I get. Mom, maybe we should call Dr. Peterson. Remember when Elise had that stress breakdown in college? Harlan, she's always been jealous of what I have. This is just her way of getting back at me. Camilla, Willow asked me why Aunt Elise hates us. What am I supposed to tell her? That one hit hard. I started typing a response, then deleted it. Started again, deleted again. Ruby's advice echoed in my head. Don't engage, let them show their true colors. My work phone rang. My boss. Elise? I just got a very strange call from someone claiming to be your mother. She said you were having a mental health crisis and might need some time off. My stomach dropped. I'm fine, Mr. Patterson. There's a family dispute about property, but it's not affecting my work. She seemed very concerned, said you were making irrational decisions and might be having a breakdown. I'm not having a breakdown. I'm handling a legal matter through proper channels. Okay, but if you need support, HR has resources available. After he hung up, I called Ruby. They called my work. I heard. I'm documenting everything. This is actually good for us. It shows a pattern of harassment and manipulation. Good for us? They're trying to get me fired. And failing. Your boss didn't buy it, right? I don't think so. Because you're not crazy, Elise. You're not having a breakdown. You're finally standing up for yourself and they can't handle it. That evening, I got a knock on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole and saw Mom standing in the hallway, holding a casserole dish. I opened the door. Hi, sweetheart. Her eyes were red from crying. I brought your favorite, tuna noodle casserole. Mom, can I come in? Please, we need to talk about this misunderstanding. I let her in. She set the casserole on my counter and turned to face me with that wounded expression she'd perfected over the years. Honey, I don't understand what's happening. Why are you trying to hurt us? I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I just want my property back. But it's not just your property. It's the family cabin. It's where we make memories together. With my money. Money isn't everything, Elise. It is when you don't have any. She sat down at my kitchen table, right where the eviction papers had been spread out that morning. Your father and I have been talking. We think maybe you need to see someone. This isn't like you. What isn't like me? Being so cold, so calculating. The Elise I know is generous and loving and puts family first. The Elise you know is broke and exhausted from putting family first. We never asked you to buy that cabin. You never asked me not to. She was quiet for a moment, then reached across the table to take my hand. What if we compromise? What if Harlan pays you rent? How much? Well, something reasonable. Maybe a few hundred a month? Mom, that place rents for $3,000. Her face went pale. 3,000? That's impossible. Check Airbnb, check rental listings. That's what lakefront properties go for. She pulled her hand back. We can't afford $3,000 a month? I know. So, what are you saying? That we have to leave? I'm saying that if you can't afford to live there, maybe you shouldn't be living there. She stared at me like I was a stranger. I don't know who you are anymore. I'm the same person who's been paying your bills for 4 years. You just never bothered to notice. 3 weeks into the 60-day notice, Harlan showed up at my office. I was in the middle of a budget meeting when my assistant knocked on the conference room door. Elise, your brother is here. He says it's urgent. I excused myself and found Harlan pacing in the lobby, wearing his best suit and that charming smile that used to get him out of trouble as a kid. Hey, sis, can we talk? I'm in a meeting. This'll just take a minute. I have a proposition for you. Against my better judgment, I led him to an empty conference room and closed the door. Okay, I've been thinking about this whole situation, he started, settling into a chair like he owned the place. And I think we can work something out that benefits everyone. I'm listening. What if I paid you back rent? Say, $500 a month for the time we've been there. That's fair, right? Harlan, the property rents for $3,000. Come on, be realistic. We're family. You can't charge family market rate. Why not? Because that's not how family works. Look, I'll throw in another $500 for utilities and call it even, $1,000 total. That's generous. I stared at him. You think $1,000 is generous for 2 months of rent on a lakefront property? Plus, I'll keep doing maintenance. I fixed that loose board, remember? With my tools, after I asked you 6 times. His smile faltered slightly. Elise, I'm trying to meet you halfway here. Halfway would be $1,500 a month going forward, plus the back rent you owe. $1,500? He laughed. I don't have that kind of money. Then you can't afford to live there. Jesus Christ, when did you become such a hard ass? The charm was gone now. Fine. What if I give you the 1,000 now and we work out a payment plan for the rest? What 1,000? You just said you don't have 1,500. I can scrape together 1,000. From where? Silence. Harlan, where would you get $1,000? I'd figure it out. The same way you figured out how to pay back Mom and Dad for the college fund? His face darkened. That's different. How? Because I was young and stupid then. I'm trying to do the right thing now. The right thing would have been asking permission before you moved in. He stood up abruptly. You know what? Forget the money. This isn't about rent, is it? This is about you being jealous that Mom and Dad chose me. Chose you for what? To carry on the family legacy. To be the one they're proud of. I almost laughed. What legacy? What are they proud of? You've been unemployed for 8 months. I'm between opportunities. You're 45 years old and living off your sister. I'm 35 and I'm not living off you. This is a family arrangement. An arrangement nobody asked me about. He leaned forward, putting his hands on the table. Elise, I'm going to be straight with you. Camila and I have been talking to a lawyer. About what? About adverse possession. We've been living there in good faith, making improvements, treating it like our home. There might be a case for us having rights to the property. I felt cold all over. Are you threatening to sue me? I'm saying maybe we don't have to leave just because you have a piece of paper. That piece of paper is called a deed. Deeds can be challenged. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Say that again. What are you doing? I want to make sure I have this right. You're threatening to sue me for ownership of property that I bought and paid for because you've been squatting there for 3 weeks? I'm not squatting. Mom and Dad invited us. Mom and Dad don't own it. They're your parents. They have a right to make decisions about family property. No, they don't. He sat back down, the fake charm returning. Look, let's not make this ugly. I don't want to sue my own sister, but I have a family to protect. So do I. You don't have a family. You have a job and an empty apartment. The words hung in the air between us. I stopped the recording. Get out! Elise, get out of my office. Now. Come on, I didn't mean... You meant every word. I opened the conference room door. Security will escort you out if you don't leave voluntarily. He stood up slowly. This isn't over. Yes, it is. After he left, I called Ruby and played her the recording. Holy shit, she said. He just confessed to planning a fraudulent adverse possession claim. Is that a real thing? Adverse possession is real, but it requires years of occupation, not weeks, and it definitely doesn't apply when the owner has been actively using the property. She paused. Elise, this recording changes everything. He just threatened you with a frivolous lawsuit. We can use this. How? We can file for immediate eviction based on threats and harassment. No more 60 days. They're out in 2 weeks. My hands were shaking again. Do it. Are you sure? He just told me I don't have a family. He threatened to steal my house. Yeah, I'm sure. Okay. I'll have the amended eviction notice ready by tomorrow. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. Aunt Elise? It's Willow. Mommy let me use her phone. Are you really going to make us leave? I love the lake house. I don't want to go back to the city. Please don't be mad at us. I stared at that message for an hour. Then I turned off my phone. The sheriff's deputy was a woman named Officer Martinez. She met Ruby and me at the end of the driveway at exactly 10 a.m. on eviction day. You're the property owner? She asked, checking her paperwork. Yes, ma'am. I handed her my deed and ID. And they've been served proper notice? Ruby opened her briefcase. Certified mail, return receipt requested, plus the amended notice for immediate eviction due to threats of fraudulent legal action. Officer Martinez nodded. Okay, let's get this done. We walked up to the cabin together. I could see faces in the windows. Mom, Dad, Camilla. Harlan's truck was still in the driveway, loaded with boxes. I knocked on the door. My own door. Dad opened it, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Elise, you don't have to do this. The eviction notice was clear. You have until noon to vacate. Where are we supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. Mom appeared behind him, mascara streaked down her cheeks. Please, sweetheart, we can work this out. We're family. Family doesn't threaten to sue each other. Harlan was just upset. He didn't mean it. Officer Martinez stepped forward. Ma'am, I need you to understand that this is a legal eviction. If you're not out by noon, you'll be arrested for trespassing. Arrested? Mom's voice went shrill. You'd have your own mother arrested? I'd have anyone arrested who refuses to leave my property. Camilla came to the door carrying a suitcase, Willow trailing behind her with red eyes and a stuffed animal. This is really happening? Camilla asked. You're really kicking out a 9-year-old? I'm evicting people who moved into my house without permission. Aunt Elise? Willow's voice was small. Did I do something wrong? My chest tightened. No, honey, you didn't do anything wrong. Then why can't we stay? I knelt down to her level. Because this is my house, and your parents should have asked me before moving in. But Grandma said it was okay. Grandma doesn't own the house. But you love us, right? The question hit like a punch to the gut. Of course I love you. Then why are you being mean? Before I could answer, Harlan appeared in the doorway. Come on, Willow. Let Aunt Elise explain to you someday why houses are more important than family. Don't, I said sharply. Don't put this on her. Put what on her? The truth? That her aunt cares more about property ownership than her own niece? Officer Martinez checked her watch. It's 11:30. I need everyone out in 30 minutes. We're trying, Dad said, but 40 years of family memories take time to pack. You've had 2 weeks. 2 weeks isn't enough time to find a new place. Ruby spoke up. You've had 4 years to find your own place. This was never permanent. Says who? Camilla snapped. Beatrice and Randolph invited us here. Beatrice and Randolph don't own the property, Officer Martinez said firmly. The owner has the right to determine occupancy. I walked past them into the cabin. My cabin. It looked different now. Lived in, cluttered, changed. Camilla's paint swatches were still taped to the kitchen wall. Harlan's fishing gear was scattered across the living room. Willow's drawings were stuck to the refrigerator. You can't just erase us, Mom said, following me inside. We're your family. You erased me first. What does that mean? It means you moved my brother into my house and offered me a tool shed. It means you called my work and told them I was having a breakdown. It means you've spent 4 years treating me like an ATM instead of a daughter. We never treated you like an ATM. I pulled out my phone and showed her my bank statements. $187,000. That's what I've spent on this place. How much have you contributed? She looked at the numbers and went pale. We contributed in other ways. What ways? Emotional support, family bonds, love. You offered me a tool shed. That was just temporary until we figured things out. No, it wasn't. Harlan told me yesterday that he and Camilla were planning to expand the deck and add a sunroom. With what money, Mom? My money. Silence. Officer Martinez appeared in the doorway. Time's up. Everyone needs to be out now. We need 5 more minutes, Dad pleaded. You've had 2 weeks. Let's go. One by one, they filed out. Dad carrying boxes, Mom clutching her purse and crying, Camilla dragging suitcases and shooting me looks that could kill. Harlan was last. He stopped in front of me. I hope it was worth it. What? Destroying your family for a house. I didn't destroy anything. You did that when you moved in without asking. We'll see how you feel when you're sitting here all alone. He walked out, slamming the door behind him. Officer Martinez handed me back my paperwork. Property's secure. You need anything else? No. Thank you. After everyone left, I stood in the empty cabin. It was quiet except for the sound of the lake lapping against the dock. I walked through each room, seeing it with fresh eyes. The master bedroom, where I'd dreamed of waking up every morning. The kitchen, where I'd planned to cook family dinners. The living room, where we were supposed to make memories. On the kitchen counter, I found an envelope with my name on it. Inside was a drawing from Willow, a stick figure family standing in front of a house by a lake. 4 adults and 1 little girl, all holding hands and smiling. At the bottom, in careful 9-year-old handwriting, I love you, Aunt Elise. Why don't you love us anymore? I sat down at the kitchen table and cried. I spent that first night alone in the cabin, sitting on the dock, watching the sunset paint the lake gold and red. Willow's drawing was folded in my pocket, the edges already soft from my fingers tracing over it. My phone had been buzzing all day, extended family members who'd heard Elise's version of events, cousins taking sides, aunts and uncles demanding explanations. I turned it off around dinner time. The next morning, I woke up in the master bedroom for the first time ever. Sunlight streamed through the windows I'd picked out, warming the hardwood floors I'd chosen. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt hollow. I was making coffee when I heard a car in the driveway. Through the kitchen window, I saw an older woman getting out of a blue sedan. My neighbor, Viviana. I'd met her briefly when I first bought the place, but we'd never really talked. She knocked on the front door, holding a covered dish. I hope you don't mind the intrusion, she said when I opened it. I brought banana bread. Thought you might need some comfort food. That's very kind, but I'm fine. Honey, I've lived next door for 30 years. I saw what happened yesterday. She stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. And fine is the last thing you are. She set the banana bread on my counter and looked around the cabin. They left it in good shape, at least. You were watching? Hard not to. Your family's been vocal these past few weeks. She sat down at my kitchen table. Mind if I ask you something? I poured 2 cups of coffee and sat across from her. Did you know they were planning to stay permanently? I suspected. Your brother was asking me about property taxes last week, wanted to know how to get the mailing address changed. My stomach dropped. He what? Said he was handling the family finances now. I told him he'd need to talk to whoever's name was on the deed. She sipped her coffee. That's when I realized they didn't know you owned the place. They knew. They just didn't care. There's a difference between knowing something and accepting it. Viviana studied my face. You did the right thing, you know. Did I? Because it doesn't feel right. Of course it doesn't. You're not a cruel person. But sometimes doing the right thing feels terrible. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, drinking coffee and eating banana bread that tasted like my grandmother's recipe. Can I tell you something? Viviana said eventually. I've been married 42 years, raised 3 kids, and the hardest lesson I ever learned was that you can't love people into treating you well. What do you mean? I mean, you spent 4 years trying to buy their love with this place, but love isn't something you can purchase. Either they love you for who you are or they don't love you at all. They do love me. They're just complicated. Honey, love isn't complicated. People make it complicated because it's easier than admitting they're selfish. My phone, which I'd turned back on that morning, buzzed with a text. Ruby, how are you holding up? I showed Viviana the message. Good friend? The best. Then answer her. Don't isolate yourself because your family can't handle your boundaries. I texted Ruby back. Surviving. Come up this weekend? Her response was immediate. Already packing. Viviana smiled. See? That's what support looks like. No conditions, no guilt trips, just showing up. After she left, I walked through the cabin again. This time, I wasn't seeing what was missing, I was seeing what was mine. The kitchen where I could cook whatever I wanted, the living room where I could watch my shows without negotiating, the master bedroom where I could sleep without listening to other people's conversations through thin walls. I pulled out my laptop and started writing. Not a legal document this time, a letter. Dear Willow, I began. I know you don't understand why I asked your family to leave my house. Someday, when you're older, I hope I can explain it better. But for now, I want you to know that I love you very much. That never changed, and it never will. Sometimes adults make decisions that seem mean but are actually about protecting themselves. I had to protect myself because nobody else was going to do it. That doesn't mean I stopped loving you. It means I finally started loving myself enough to stand up for what's right. I hope someday you'll understand. And I hope someday your parents will too, but even if they don't, I want you to know that you always have a place in my heart. And when you're old enough to make your own decisions about who you want in your life, I'll be here. Love always, Aunt Elise. P.S. I kept your drawing. It's beautiful. I printed the letter, put it in an envelope, and drove to town to mail it. On the way back, I stopped at the hardware store and bought new locks for all the doors. That evening, Ruby called. I've been thinking about what you said, about feeling hollow. Yeah? I think that's normal. You spent so long being the good daughter that you don't know who you are without that role. So who am I now? You're the woman who owns a beautiful lakefront cabin. You're the woman who worked 60-hour weeks to buy her dream house. You're the woman who finally said enough is enough. I'm also the woman who evicted her own family. You're the woman who stopped letting her family take advantage of her. There's a difference. After we hung up, I sat on my porch and watched the stars come out over the lake. The water was perfectly still, reflecting the sky like a mirror. My phone buzzed one more time, a text from an unknown number. This is Willow. Mommy let me text you. I got your letter. I don't understand everything, but I understand that you love me. I love you too. Maybe someday we can go fishing at your lake house. I smiled and typed back, I'd like that very much. The good daughter was gone, but maybe, just maybe, the real me was finally home.